Going on, family? Welcome to Sage Talk on the Lapeef Network. Hope you guys are doing nice on this Sunday afternoon. Blesses. Green Gang, I see you. I see Sage Talk is in the Lee, handling that. Shout out to Sage Talk Lee. We got some new members. No Trust became a YouTube member. Greatness to Work became a YouTube member. We also have Akeem Savage. And then we have Plain OB right out the gate. Shout out to the new members. Green Gang, I see you. We just came off a great stream. Lapeef and Sundays was another banger. So if you guys missed that, make sure you catch it on the replay. Now we at Sage Talk with Lee. This is our regularly scheduled program that we're following. We have a mirror later on tonight. That'll be at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So I look forward to that. Let's make sure we get the likes up, y'all. Let's get the likes up in the very beginning. We have this issue where people come in and out and they're watching, but they're not supporting the channel. So it's very important that we hit the like button. That's all we're asking for is a like. We're not asking for super chats, none of that. Just hit the like button. That's the least you can do. We are live August the 5th and 6th in Atlanta. The Lapeef Experience takes over Atlanta. That should be classic right there. Epic. So make sure you guys go out and get your tickets, man. The Lapeef Experience takes over Atlanta. Also, shout out to the sponsor, Tej Henley. Uncomplicated skincare for men. It's time to start getting our skin in order, man. So go ahead. The summer is still early, and you should just naturally just want to take care of your skin. It's very important in our appearance every day, making sure we stay well groomed, making sure our skin is smooth, making sure we in the gym, making sure we get into the bag. It's just a certain criteria that every man should follow. We should have a baseline, and skincare should be adopted into your regular routine. With that being said, let me go ahead and bring up the man of the hour himself, Sage Talk Lee. What's going on, brother? How you doing? You're on mute, just so you know.
Hey, Gerald. Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. Blessed to be woke and being able to experience another day. How you doing?
Absolutely. And being in good health as well. Hey, Green Gang. How's everybody doing today? Enjoying your Sunday right before the big cookout tomorrow, 4th of July coming up.
No, actually, I think some people already started their cookout, man. They probably just carrying it right over, man. Some people ain't got to work
Yeah, sure
tomorrow, so
enough.
it's
Sure
gonna be a
enough.
long night for them. A lot of
No
party.
doubt, right?
All right, Lee, I'm gonna go ahead and jump
I
off.
got a
Have a
little
great.
I got a little haircut. Who said that? Nurse Fancy? Yeah, I did get a little haircut. Try to keep it from
Nah,
looking a little Moses. Get kind
yeah,
of long in the tooth
I knew it was something
sometimes.
different about you, man. I'm just like Lee, look a little
Yeah,
put together, man. But
I
shout out to
try.
you, man. Yeah. I see you trying to surprise everybody, trying to wolf it like Logic did, and then come back around and hit it with a
No,
fresh
I
cut.
can't handle it like Logic.
Nah, yeah,
I
you
do
ain't.
that when I want to keep the girls away.
Okay, got you. All right, Lee, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and hop off. Have a great show. We will be dropping the link shortly after his monologue starts. So make sure you guys get yourself a seat. You know how it gets. You start off slow with people coming up, and then on the back end, people are eager to try to get in. So if you want to get your position early, that's okay. Just sit in the back, listen to the show there. When you come on, make sure you have your YouTube off in the background because that's why we get the echo and we get the lag and we started hearing people repeat themselves is because you have the YouTube browser open. Once you come on the StreamYard, that is your dedicated place to be. Once you hop off a StreamYard, then feel free to open back up your YouTube window. But that's how that process works. It's not rocket science. It's easy. Just don't have your YouTube open if you're coming on the StreamYard. Simple as that. All right, Lee, I'm out of here. Have a great show.
All right. Cool. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sage Talk. Again, I'm your host, Lee. And today I really want to have this conversation because I've been listening to many different perspectives on the baby mama that had 4 children and she was trying to make the father of the youngest child pay for all four. Now that's something that some people found difficult to get the logic behind that. And I listened to several different podcasters and platform presenters. I listened to the lead attorney, Angry Man, and a few other people, and they had some very good insights to bring to the table on that conversation. But I wanted to come at it from a different perspective, which I don't believe I heard anyone thoroughly go into it from the way I'm looking at it. And what I'd like to do first is kind of like rewind the story, right? Because we're seeing it in the future where she already had 4 kids. But let's back the story up a little bit to where she only had one child. So she's dealing with a brother. They're hanging out, they're living their life together, enjoying life. And then she gets pregnant. A year later, they have the first child. And soon thereafter, like it happens in our community from time to time, the relationship doesn't last. They break up, they separate. And the brother, he's going his own way, doing his thing, living his life, moving on. And so have she. But the brother's coming around from time to time, dropping money off, dropping off some food, Pampers, whatever. The stuff generally a young child would need. Not too long after that, she finds herself pregnant with another child. And she has a baby. So the baby from the father from the first child, he still comes around. He's dropping stuff off. He's trying to help her out. But the father from the second child, well, you know, he just wasn't really all that responsible. So he just kind of moved on because for him, the relationship wasn't all that serious. But unfortunately, I guess she was trying to make something of it, and the relationship kind of like fell to the wayside. And obviously, she needs to be able to provide for both children and not just one, or at least to make sure they have relatively everything that they need. Now, as the first baby daddy keeps coming around bringing stuff over time, she's like, I need more help. I need you to give me enough for both of these kids. And that's where the famous quote comes in. Because when I heard the quote that she stated at the end of that videotape, kind of rung out in my head because I heard it, different times, different people were doing their perspective on what she had to say and what she had done. If you can't do for all, don't do for none. And I started really thinking about this because logically, you hear that statement, in some people's mind, that can make real good sense. If you can't do for all, don't do for none. But here you have a young man, 21, 23, 24 years old, trying to take care of his baby daughter or baby son, couple of years old, 2, 3 years old, whatever. And he's trying to help out, but he's working, taking care of his life. He wants a social life, so he's providing what he can provide to his child. But she tells him, no, you can't do that. You lay with me. We were together. I have a baby by you. So now I have a second kid, but I still want you to provide for this kid too. He's like, nah, they arguing, they fighting, they going back and forth. So finally, she hit him again with the quote. If you can't do for both my kids, then you can't do for your kid. So after a while, the brother said, you know what? I ain't gonna be taking care of nobody else's kid. I'm out. So he stopped supporting his kid. He just bounced. As time goes on, she get pregnant with another child. She has a third child, and she gives that third baby daddy the same ultimatum. If you can't provide for all, don't do for none. So any man and men's see the thing is, I think what we're getting confused is female logic versus male logic. Male logic says, I'll provide for my own kid. Female logic says, I'm the mother, I have all these children. You got to provide for all of them. If you're going to stick around, you're going to have to give me money for all of them. And then fast forward, we come to the fourth baby daddy, the one that we see the video on. We see the brother drive up. We hear the intro to the video. She's talking about, here he come again. All these people talking about how he's such a good dad. But I'm going to put him on blast. I'm going to show the world that he really not such a good dad. In her mind, her logic is that if you're not going to provide for all my kids, you're not a good dad. In the father's mind, I'm providing for the child that I fathered. So the brother pulls up. He's got lunch for his baby. Obviously, by the dialogue, we know that it's something that he does regularly, whether it's every day or several times a week. We know it's more than once because she indicated that. And it's obviously that they've had some back and forth about that. And fast forward, she throws the food to the floor. He get ready to drive off, and she hit him with the quote, if you can't do for all, don't do for none. And any man in his logical mind would make the calculation that, fuck it then. I ain't going to do for none. You know why? Let's look at this from a practical standpoint. His son has a birthday, summer, July, August. He come pick up his kid, takes him over, visit his family, have a little party, 3, 4, 5 years old, whatever. They buy him gifts, they buy him clothes, they buy him toys. He brings the kid back home. Now this kid got all this stuff. She pissed off. Kid can't play with his toys. Kid can't wear his clothes around the house because he's gonna show off his other siblings, brothers and sisters. What does she do? She get pissed off. She curse him out. They start bickering. Summertime come. He wants to buy his kid some shorts, sneakers, hats, sunshades to look cool. You know how these little kids be looking like, little rappers at 3, 4 years old. So he's trying to make his kid look cool, and they're fighting, going back and forth. You can't do that. You're making your kid look better than the other kid. Back to school come. We all know what back to school is like. First week or two, everybody want to wear new stuff, new sneaks, new jeans, new t-shirt, new backpack. So he takes his kid out, takes him shopping, buy all this stuff for his kid, take it back home. What does she do? She takes the stuff back to the store, get the money or exchange, and buy for all the kids. From the man's perspective, he's looking at this and he's saying to himself, she got 4 kids. One of them are mine. If I spend $100, $75 go to other men's children, $25 go to my kid. If I spend $1,000, $750 go to another man's child or children, $250 go to my kid. And that continues to add up. So what did that tells him over time? That tells him that he as a man cannot give his kid an advantage in this world. You know why? Because baby mama logic says they must all be the same. Which means what? The father of the kid that is the biggest bum, your kid cannot be better than him. He can't wear better stuff. He can't look better. He can't eat better. He can't have nothing better than the son or daughter of the child of the father that is a bum. Which means, in her mind, equality in the family means all my children got to be bums. If one is a bum, they all got to be bums. That's her. That's her logic. Meaning, your child can't have an advantage. If you want to put your child in private school, it's gonna be a problem. You can't give your child an advantage. And what this whole baby mama, single mother lifestyle have led to, and they've created a whole mantra about it, right? They've created a whole mantra, deadbeat dads. But what we don't look at, and what that video gave us a paring eye into, was that this is a process. Deadbeat dads don't just become deadbeat dads from the start. Many brothers love their kids, want to give to their kids, want to give their children an advantage in life. But because the mother sleeps around and have children by many different men, all men are not the same. Men are of different quality, plain and simple. Men come from different stock. Men think different. Men have greater desires one from another. And a man that have children with a woman and he has great vision for himself and is pushing himself forward in life, he will want to do more to give his offspring a better advantage also. But baby mama logic says, no, you can't make your child look better in the house because why? Because they're going to fight. Because one kid is going to feel some kind of way. Now, I don't know if any of you come from a decent sized family, 3, 4, 5 kids or more, especially if you have the same mother and father. Even when you have the same parents and they buy you very similar things, whether it's for Christmas, whether it's for any major holidays, birthdays, or just buying stuff for the family, kids will always find a way to argue and fight over stuff. That's what kids do. It's a way to develop one another as people. That's how we develop. Perfect example. If any of you bred dogs or have more than one dog, 3 or 4 dogs or puppies when they're young, what do puppies do besides shit, piss, and eat? Because we know they do that, right? But what do they do besides that? They play fight. They always play fighting. Why? That develop their instincts. That develop their tactics. That weed out the strong from the weak. And in every breed of dog or every group of dog, there's always one that's going to be stronger and better, more alert, and just is a better dog, even though they have same mother, same father. Challenges brings out the best in people. And I think what we have forgotten as a people, because society wants to make everybody equal. Everybody can't be equal. That's a false noma. Everybody can't be equal. And because we have broken down, particularly the Black community, before we used to be intact families. Now we're fragmented families. So you have a mother by herself trying to make decisions for four different children to try to give them an equal footing in the world. But they'll never have an equal footing because those kids aren't equal. They don't have equal fathers. And even if they had equal fathers, I have brothers and sisters. One of my sisters is a doctor. Well, I only have one sister. My sister is a doctor. My youngest brother, who passed away, he was an engineer for BMW and the airlines. Me, I'm the least successful in my family. Well, I made the most money, but I don't have the degrees and stuff like they have, right? They're smarter than me. The point is, children's got to find their own, and different things motivate people to be successful, to be better. And coming from a disadvantaged position in life doesn't necessarily mean the outcome of your life will be a disadvantage. It sets you up to fight. One child having a better pair of sneakers than the other could potentially make that other child say, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to be a sneaker designer. I'm going to design sneakers. It's going to be the baddest sneakers. It motivates children to grow up to be people that they're better than one of the other. You give them inspiration to want to be the best. But what we have lost in our community is because everything is a handout, or the most things, I wouldn't say everything, but a lot of us, particularly single mothers, because their life is based on a handout, what it simply means is one thing. She have to try to make one pizza feed everybody equally. I remember there are times when in some families everybody ate, but the father didn't eat. The father sacrificed to make sure the kid eat. That built character in him, made him a better man. Today, we look at many of our women. A lot of our women like to sing the mantra, they're a strong black woman. But really, let's question that. Are they really strong? Because they always want to claim that they're playing the role of fathers and mothers. Well, why don't they just play their position and be a good mother and stop trying to be a father? Because you're not a male. You're not a man. You don't think like a man. You don't act like a man. You don't behave like a man. You don't do things like a man. You don't even do the simplest thing as piss like a man. So you can't be a man. But back in the day, our great grandparents and going back further, they understood that. They were males in the family that were able to give young men guidance to help them come into their own as young men. But today, what do we have? We have women trying to teach young boys how to be men. Is that possible? Not really. They can teach them empathy, compassion, how to deal with something's emotional. But when it comes to helping them make decisions, the way a woman reach a decision is completely different than how men reach decisions. And how a man will act on those conclusive decisions is completely opposite from how women will do the same. And what we've seen generation over generation since our women, black women, have taken over control in our black community is every generation the men become weaker. Like I'm of the last generation where if two black boys have an argument, they fight. Sometimes nobody wins. They both get bloodied up. Sometimes somebody get their ass stomped real bad. But over time, respect developed between those two young boys. And sometimes they even become friends. Many of my friends that I grew up with, I kicked their ass. And some of them kicked my ass. Because some of the guys I fought was a lot bigger than me. But one thing they know, my my as they used to say back in the day, my heart don't pump Kool-Aid. I'ma fight you. Win or lose, I'ma fight you. Today's black men, we don't have respect for one another. They're weak-minded men. They're afraid like women are afraid. So what they do, they kill it. They kill other black men for no reason, just because they have a bad day or a bad attitude about something. They don't know the camaraderie of men hanging out, playing together, hanging out together, fighting and then becoming friends all over again. Because back in the day, friends fought friends. Friends didn't beat friends to a pulp, but to get respect one between another in the crew, you had to fight. Dogs do the same thing to separate who's the leader, who's the one most respected. And in many crews, respect don't just come from the guy that's the biggest guy. Respect come from the talents that you have to bring as a man, the way you will survive in life. Because some men can use their brawn to survive. Some men use their intellect to survive. Some men use their charismatic personality to survive. Some men use humor to survive. There are all kinds of ways men use the skills that they have to better themselves in life. But that comes through one thing, challenge. And today, black women don't offer black boys any form of challenge. Everything must be dispersed equally. Can't happen. The only thing will happen with that is that they will breed weak men every generation until we become so weak that our very survival become threatened. And look at it. We came out of slavery and we were building towns, universities, and banks. 35 years out of slavery. Today, if you take the same 35 to 50 years since civil rights, what bank has we built? The only school that you can really point to is LeBron James' school, and that's because he's a freaking billionaire. And for black women who claim to be so strong, if you're an IG model, if you're on TikTok or OnlyFans, and like Coach Greg Adams would say, if you're selling feet pictures, if you're selling your body for money, you ain't strong because that's the oldest profession for a woman that had nothing. A woman that was uneducated, that had no man, maybe her family died, she was left alone, and she had to figure out how she was going to survive. She worked in a saloon or a restaurant or some place where men would gather and come through and fro, and she would offer her entertainment, her companionship for money. And now we have a large part of our population of black women who are resorted to selling sex or some form of it, a derivative of sex. The images of their body, that's number one. Exclusive pictures to their coochie and the rest of their bodies exposed. And some even go as far as straight up sex pictures. So I'll put the challenge out there to any black woman listening to this discussion today. How can you tell me you strong if you selling your body for money? The most disrespected career any person can have, male or female, but the male body is not desired. The female body is desired. Men are desired for different things. So JR dropped the link I see, and there's a gentleman that's already joined us on the platform. What's that? uh, Fenough Glory, uh, or is that Penough Glory? Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Hey, brother, how you doing? Welcome to Sage Talk.
What's going on with you, brother? It is the pen of glory. How you doing, brother?
Okay, the pen. Okay, I missed that. I didn't see the separation between the words. Thanks for the correction.
It's still the same
Talk to
thing.
me.
It's still the same thing.
No problem.
but I wholeheartedly agree that the making of a deadbeat father does start with the baby mama. I'm a living example of that. Um, when my mama was 16, my father was well in his 20s when he had sex with my mama, and irregardless of how they, because my family, they're from South Bend, Indiana, grew up in the 80s,
Okay.
so you should already know it's next to Chicago, Gary. So when the
Right.
highlight of all the stuff was going on, my family on my father's side was in it. And so because of that, my mama kept me a secret, kept my birth a secret, and told the rest of my family that I was on my mama's side, that I was a miscarriage, and my father's side didn't know nothing about me until 2 years ago. Now here's where your words become true. Now that my father knows about me, instead of him stepping up to a plate like a man's supposed to, he's taking this frustration on himself and my mama on me. Not stepping up, not trying to get to know me, not even trying to figure out how I became a man without him, you know? And
Right.
so when I look at that, you feel me? I understand the fact that, like you said before, a woman can't tell a man or a young boy how to walk through a situation as a man. You feel me? She can give him the emotions behind it, maybe. She can somewhat understand, not even overstand, a little bit of the mind state of that man from being around men or being around her father or whatever. But actually being able to go through the things that as a man that I've had to go through, just being an orphan, a black male orphan in America, no woman has been able to teach me anything. You feel me? No woman has been able to sit there and believe it or not, a lot of these men haven't been able to do it either because they were never shown. A lot of these men that I've been coming across in my travels across the country, they've barely left the four corners of their city or state.
Absolutely.
They
Absolutely.
barely left. And then when it comes to a lot of the like count some of the confrontations, I've noticed a lot of these guys, and a lot of them are bigger than me. They can see I'm not strapped or whatever, or they can see. But the first thing that they want to do is either get their boys or they want to start pulling pistols. And it's like, I don't go out disrespecting none of these men. I just tell the truth. And if for some odd reason you can't tell these young men the truth, they get irate, they get mad, they want to kill, they want to shoot. And if they do want to fight, they want to jump somebody,
Well,
and that
because
starts.
well, that is so true because when women fight in groups.
Right,
Women rarely fight one on one. Women, they bring their crew with them. They have a bunch of women with them, and they're always jumping in and out to fight because that
right.
is the way. Mute up when I'm speaking because you have a lot of wind in the background. So if you can,
I can hear you.
okay. But I'm hearing a lot of wind on your side, so I'm asking if it's possible for you to mute when I'm speaking
Oh,
so it
I
doesn't
got you. I
interfere
got
with the
you.
transmission. Okay. So what I'm saying is that because what a woman can do for a young man growing up, a young boy, is comfort. That's really where a woman can really help strengthen a young boy as they grow, is to help him balance out his emotions when he become real angry, is to comfort him and let him know everything is going to be all right, right? But in terms of giving him solutions, women don't know how to give men solutions for their problems, even as a young boy, because 9 times out of 10, that young male child needs to find a masculine way to deal with that situation, particularly when it's dealing with other young men his age. He's got to find his way within the group.
Right.
That's why
And
today bullying is a really big thing. But what this whole movement about bully does, about being a bully, what it does is it also breeds weak men because Women control the whole movement on bullying. Men, yeah, of course, there were bullying back in the day, but at some point, there's always someone there in the crew that's going to pull the bully back from going too far. Look, nah,
Right.
man, you're not going to hurt him, right? Or leave him alone, right? He's a nice kid, whatever. But as that kid grows older, he finds his way. And sometimes he finds himself right back in the same group where one or two of the people used to bully him. But now he has found a way to get respect within his clique. And I think
Right.
we have lost that. And when you talk about, you're not a big guy, but you may have a strong mind. And what happened with some people have weak minds. It's like
And
some
that
black men,
strong
you
mind
just
intimidates them.
it
The strong
intimidates
mind,
exactly.
and that's been my biggest thing because like I've always been alone, and I had to find my own way. Like a lot of the reason that my own father, even my own little brother, is jealous of me or very resentful is because I found a way to be a man without anyone really showing me. You know, like
Okay.
but this is the biggest thing that a lot of young men and a lot of men miss. You have to want to be a man. You can't just like you can't just wake up one day and say I'm gonna be a man at 45 years old. No, like you can develop and become that man at 45, but it has to already be inside you. It is a
Well,
everyday ongoing process. Like
I will say
becoming
this. Let me interject. Let me interject. Obviously, as a young boy, finding the answer to how do I become a man is an ongoing question. But if it's a question that you are beginning to ask yourself at the age of 45, there's so much development in you that has to be unlearned that most men don't have the capacity to do that. What I would say is like
that's the big thing. I was just
when I was
about to
growing
say
up,
that.
when I was growing up, there were men of high respect that I met along the way. Now I had 10 uncles, well, 9 uncles. My dad was one of 10 children. He died when I was young, when I was 7. But I was fortunate that my grandfather raised me and I had the benefit of my uncles around me to show me masculinity and help me get through some things. But when you're in school, I grew up in an era where there were still male teachers and male administrators in school. And to this day, the only teacher that I can remember is my male teacher from the 5th grade, PS 180. His name is Mr. Sparkman. He was a white guy. He was about 6'9, 6'10. He was huge. Couldn't even walk in the door. Had like gigantic feet. But he taught me something about character that he taught to every student, but I picked up on that from him. Something about having character as a person. And then
Right.
over time, there were other men in my life that I looked for when I was going through different things or when I was in their presence over time to see how they behave. Because I grew up in a gangster like neighborhood in Harlem, and there were good guys there too. I had a guy back in the day who was a gambler. He gambled for a living. And I used to be pretty lucky when I hustled sometimes when I was playing rolling dice or whatnot. And one
Right.
day he
Right.
pulled me
Right.
to the side and he said, Lee, he said, a gambler's life can be exciting and you'll have your ups and downs, but you'll have
Mm-hmm.
more downs than you'll have ups. And it's a
Exactly.
hard life. He said, don't go into this life. You're too smart of a kid. Don't get the habit of gambling because the habit of gambling is like drinking. Once you're hooked on
Once
it,
you
you're hooked
start,
on it.
right,
So
right.
even in the hood, there were men in the hood that I knew that pulled me to the side, that saw something in me, that tried to give me guidance. And I picked up. I wasn't resistant.
And I wish I had that kind of guidance growing up because I grew up in different various white homes, foster care, and then my
Right.
final adopted family was white. So there were no black male role models, not even in the neighborhood. And so, and I didn't
Right.
want to
But
be one of
but
those.
I will say this, and it's not just for you, but for the audience who are listening and for those who may listen to the replay later. a strong male influence don't have to be black. You know,
There
the
were no
cultural
male.
things
Okay, there were no
you can
strong
learn.
male
Hear me out.
influences
Hear me out.
at all.
Hear me out. Hear me out. There are white men who have strong male influence also. They can give you information about life and to help you make decisions, especially in critical junctures of your life where you could go left or you could go right, and they can have that pep talk with you to help you come to the right decision. You know what I mean? So even
Right.
in your experience, there were no white men in the families where you came from that were
No,
influential for you.
no, not in a positive way. And like the
In what
little
way?
bit of,
Give me an example.
all right, well, my adopted father, um,
Uh-huh.
he didn't, when he was alive, when he didn't, he wasn't. I don't think he was trying to, but
Uh-huh.
one indirect good thing that he did put inside me. I wasn't sure if he was trying to. I don't think he really meant to because we never spent time like that. But
Okay.
he was trying to make me feel bad about being black and not having correct speech and not dressing a certain way. And so
But if he was
whenever I'd
okay, he
go
was
out
your
for
let's have a dialogue. He was your parent, but he wasn't buying you clothes?
no, it wasn't about the clothes. It was
No,
like
I'm
the
saying
way that
because you said dress correctly, right? How did you dress?
the
Did you dress
I dressed in a way that made me okay. I didn't dress white enough for them. Let's just
right?
put it that way. Okay,
Okay.
I didn't dress white enough for them. I still had a hip hop flair. I still had a
Right.
reggae rock flair, and no, and I
Okay.
mixed it all together. And so,
Okay. Now, were they buying the clothes for you or they just gave you the money or you were working and you bought your own stuff? How did that work out?
up until when I was finally 15 years old, they allowed me to
Uh-huh.
pick out my own clothes.
Okay. All right.
And
Which is
so,
good. That's a good age.
so at 15, I was finally able to pick out my own clothes, given a budget. And
Okay.
so, the and so they allowed me to pick
So you
those
found
clothes,
your
and the clothes
style.
that I was my style. Yes, and my
Right.
style
Okay.
did not coincide
And they
with their
objected to that.
whiteness.
Now, did both
Yes.
the mother and the dad speak negatively, or was it just the father?
Um, the the mother, the father would say something behind the scenes when it came to us children, because it was all boys, and so
Okay.
whenever a law had to be laid out, it was the woman, the mother, who came out and said it out for all of us. So if there was
Okay.
a problem, she spoke on it.
Okay.
And so
But no, but you were saying that the
but
father tried to make you feel less than because he didn't like your expression of your fashion style, right? So he
right,
had his
so
own kids.
more
He had his own kids also, other boys, right?
three.
Three. Okay. How did you guys get along? How did you get along with his kids?
The oldest, we had problems only
Okay.
because he was the oldest. He felt he could do whatever. The middle
Well, how old?
child,
How many years older was he than you?
let's see, 7.5.
Okay. And you were 15 at the time, so he was 21.
Yeah, but he was already out the
Okay.
house.
Okay, he was already out the house. Okay, which he should
Like
be.
there were two different times. There were three different periods I was with this family. But that's a whole
Go
nother
ahead.
story. But
Okay.
but what he indirectly taught me is when it came to going out to something like any extravagant thing, to dress
Uh
to the
huh.
hilt. And every time I would go out to a function in my adult life, ever since I left them, I would hear his words. I'd feel self conscious, and I'd end up dressing to the hilt. And whenever I do that, I either get compliments, I end up getting business offers. Good things normally happen because I hear that nagging. So yes, it was torture what they did to me growing up, but that torture, it taught me something good that was able to open up doors for me later on in life.
Okay. So he did try to instill in you how to dress for success. In other words.
No,
Well,
because
when you say dress
he
to the
was
hilt, what does that mean?
like certain tie suit. You feel me?
Right,
Handkerchief,
that's dressing for success,
cufflinks.
dressing more for the occasion as opposed to dressing in a more hip hop, rap, reggae, casual, around the way kind of dress as what's predominant way how black men dress in the community, right? So he
Right.
was trying to get you to dress in a different way, particularly when you go into major events.
But here's the thing. I
Go
never
ahead, talk to
dressed
me.
like a hood person because I overstood. I never grew up that way. I grew up in
Okay,
different suburbs in Indiana. So one thing
okay,
I always took pride in, growing up in the 80s and 90s,
uh-huh.
you couldn't be a teenager in those times if you dressed like another person. Like if you wore the same outfit as somebody else, whether it's in school or the club, you already know somebody got to take that thing off. So that
Well,
uniqueness
that's
of
that's that's
growing up
any
in the
time because
80s and 90s,
that happened in my period too. I think that's any time period, right? That's just,
I don't know.
everyone wants to have their uniqueness. I'm just trying to add add to the conversation, right?
I see a lot of
That's
these kids
yeah.
looking alike nowadays. But
Well,
no,
and I think that may be part of what I was saying about the baby mom is trying to make all the kids equal.
mm, and I was just getting to that. That one thing I did appreciate, and that we were not equal. Like even though they had their three birth children, the baby
Right?
birth child, you feel me, was treated
Uh-huh.
more special than all of us.
Then all of exactly. Thank you very much. That is so powerful for you to add because that's something that that black women today, or not just black women, but society in general, don't really want to come to grips with it. Even children that have the same parents, some parents will, for whatever reason, have an attachment to one kid over another. And that kid is going to get either a bigger piece of cake, he's going to get a better looking piece of outfit or whatever, he's going to get a better piece of chicken. He's just going to be, when he does something wrong that he should be punished like everybody else, his punishment is not going to be the same or at the same level. So, go ahead, speak on it. Pen of Glory, I think you might be a little frozen. You might have to drop back and come back in. But I think what he was saying right there is very emblematic to the conversation because one of the things I did hear a portion, not the entire conversation, but I did hear a portion of the conversation that the lead attorney also had uh, a discussion on this topic, and he had a mock debate with another younger attorney, a young lady. I didn't get to hear all of it because I was busy, but I came back in later, and one of the things that he was citing was that, and which is something that the courts look for, is that you can't make one of the children or one or more of the children feel some kind of emotional distress that they are going to feel one way about one another. And the thing is, even when children come from the same family, that happens. But it's something that helped develop each child to find their uniqueness, to find their way, to build them to becoming a competitive person in society. When you try to lay the field even for everyone to get everything the same, what you create is a union, a unifying performance. It's no different than a robot in a factory. They do the same thing every day, all the time, the same way. When humans get their hands on it, it changes because we're different. We give it our unique style to it. When black men started accentuating cars and putting all these types of lift kits to upgrade the vehicle, over time, what happened? Manufacturers saw the difference on how they created such a huge aftermarket that they started to add it to their design to make the cars coming out the factory in a more sports like, aggressive, exciting, uniqueness look about it, other than a run of the mill spec car. And that's the same thing with people. And I think one of the things that society have lost is competitiveness. There's no competitiveness within families. there's no competitiveness within the communities, and there's no competitiveness out in the broader society. And it's making black people particularly weak. We as a people are becoming so weak in our ability to compete against other nations or people. And the reason why is kids that come from the same family with same mothers, they compete they compete for food, they compete for clothes, they compete for the affection of their parents. You compete for everything in life. And if you are a man that are doing well and you have a child with a woman, you're going to want to give good things to your child. You want to give your child an advantage in life. And if your woman, or your ex-woman, I should say, is telling you no, if you can't feed and provide for all of these kids, then you can't give none of them an advantage over the other. See, that's the system. That means our women now think they have gotten so ingrained for generation over generation from the 60s or the 50s being on the system that now they've become systematic minded because the government give everybody money based on the same demographics. How much money you make, how many kids you got, what neighborhood you live in, everybody gonna get the same thing. You got one kid, you get this. If you got two kids, you get this. If you got three kids, so forth and so on. And because of that, now they're internalizing that system and they're now trying to make men comply to that system. You can't single out your child to be a top performer. Your child cannot be excelling above the other kids in the house. Why? Because he might be better. And Lord forbid you have a child that's better than the other one. Somebody's feelings might get hurt, and we can't afford that. That's why women today, when they use terms like my truth, that's their inability to become accountable for the realities that life has given them. So they speak about it, my truth, meaning they tell the story from a dimension where they look like the victim, someone else looks like the bad guy, usually the man that's involved in that situation. And the only thing we're going to see year after year is the breakdown of the Black community. Now, other communities will get affected, but their effect is going to be lesser because everyone is going to have hindsight from being able to look at us destroy ourselves in the process. And our women think what they're doing is a good thing. Now, I did see a comment earlier that someone says most of the women in this on this network are not like the women I'm talking about. That may not be. That may be true. But there are women who listen to the network more than we know. They may have residue of that thought process. And remember, this is not something that just came about because that quote is a very sophisticated quote. If you can't bring nothing for all, don't do nothing for none. That's a very sophisticated quote. That's not something that you just made up in your head off the cuff. That's generational. She learned that from someone in her family. Maybe not said the same way, but said very similar. That's a quote that's been coming down from generation to generation to generation because women have been doing that and it worked. It worked a lot more in the past, but it's having less an effect today because of YouTube and social media. Social media, for as much as men rail against social media is a double-edged sword. Why? Because it reveals to us the things we thought was only occurring in our life to show us that it's broader within the society. It's common to women in general. They all behave this way. And when I say all, I'm using the singular form of all, not the plural form, meaning so many that it's almost indistinguishable. That many women behave the same way that your woman is behaving. And she's no more unique than the next woman. And to find a unique woman, you literally have to go out of the community to find a unique woman that's different, because it all starts with the mindset. It all starts with the mindset. And just tapping into this Roe versus Wade situation that we talked about last week, and it's still making its rounds in the YouTube space. If a black man, particularly a successful black man, or a man that have aspirations to being successful, if he look at the odds and know that a black woman is more than likely higher in percentage to delete a child without his knowledge, black men are going to move more away from black women over time because it becomes a logical decision. Increase your options, reduce your risks. If you increase your options, you reduce your risk. And I think one of the things that black women haven't really thought about, deleting black boys in the end deletes you, because we bring you back. You don't bring us. You don't bring nothing. You just birth whatever we put in you. You can ask any farmer that. If he plant peas in the ground, it's going to be a peas tree. If he plant corn, it's going to be corn. The Bible says Eve is onto the earth, meaning she's like the earth. She's a womb. What you put in her is what she'll grow. And the fruit of the womb, like the fruit of a tree, is a child. And you kill it, you kill yourself. And all it takes is one or two black men, and we can repopulate the whole, any black community anywhere. But one or two black women can't do that, because you can only have one child a year, every 10 months. And not every child that you grow inside of you come to fruition. So I think we really have to take a hard look at ourselves, both as black men and black women, and examine what kind of people are we going to be going forward. We have some major decisions to make over with the remainder of this decade, I will say. Black men have some real major decisions, because some of the women that we deal with are not worth it. A woman that will tell a father he can't give to his child because his child will have an advantage over the other children. Stop sleeping around and having babies with all those men. Have babies with one man, and you don't have to worry about that. See, black men are more traditional than black women. The more modern black men, you know what modern black men likes about modern black women? The ease of having sex without responsibility. That's the benefit. You can get the milk, but you don't have to buy the cow. That's an old saying, but it makes sense. And the only one that really gets hurt by having multiple sex partners are women. Because in the end, you're going to need a man to pay the freight for your life. Men pays for where you live, the standards by which you live, the clothes on your back, the food that you eat, the vacations you take, the insurance policies you get, the entertainment you have, the entire quality of life that a woman has. The freight is paid for by a woman. Is paid for by a man. Now, there are some women today who pay their own freight. But when you have a woman that have the capacity to pay her own freight, what do we see happening more and more? They're choosing men of lesser accomplishments, and they have to pay the freight for him. So women are taking on a masculine centric lifestyle. as opposed to being a feminine-centric lifestyle. So what I want to know is where the rest of the brothers at. I don't really want females to come up on this discussion because this conversation is really about the making of a deadbeat dad. And we know that from what we can see, woman makes a man a deadbeat dad, not the man makes himself a deadbeat dad. Because if you ask 10 men, not only would they take care of their child, if they have children, do they take care of their child? I would venture to say 8 out of those 10 take care of their children. I'm talking about men who are working and have jobs. I'm not talking about bums, guys that never had a job in his life. He's 30 something years old, and the best job he's had was at some grocery store packing, loading, unloading, working in the mailroom somewhere in some company, some inconspicuous job where no one even knows his name. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about men that are serious about life. They want to make something of themselves. And from the day they got out of either the university or graduated high school, they hit the ground running and never looked back. Hey, Hot Facts. Good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
Good afternoon to you as well. Right back to you. This topic right here, I touched on it on my show as well, Hot Facts with Robert Reese.
Okay.
People, and because of this topic and what I spoke on, this Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. On Tuesdays, Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to have a live to go over the qualifications of a good man / dad. I'm going to have that topic on Tuesday, but because
You faded out. You might have hit mute. Yeah.
that
You're back on.
video that we've all seen was just ridiculous. And me myself, I have a situation that's similar to that. Now this happens, it doesn't have to be, a relationship and outside that. It can happen within the regular kids as well, especially in the Black community. It can happen with the kids as well. So their own
Give me an
kids.
give me an example what you mean by that.
All right,
When you
so
say, yeah.
all right, so let's say there's 4 kids, and let's say there's four kids, and like automatically, if there's 3 boys and a girl, it's the girl. Automatically, it's the girl. You know what I mean? And if the dad,
girl that gets the favorite of everything.
yes, and
Okay.
if it's if the dad is in the house and the last one is the girl, that's daddy's girl. If it's the guy. You know what I mean? Now, if it's the youngest boy, that's the baby boy. That's where you get that. You know what I mean? Like that happens within.
Right.
But then you get the situation like this. Now, I have a similar situation. I raised my stepson since he's been 15 months old, and my biological son lives with his mom. Okay, so now when I go to do things there, I'm the active dad, and the other kids' dads are not there. You know what I mean? Right. So I understand this situation right here. So, but this is where the women, you have to understand this. You have to understand this. You cannot, if one guy does what he's supposed to do, you can't try to bring him down to try to do this other stuff. Like that's not his fault. Now I can see if one day, instead of buying one Taco Bell meal, he bought the little taco pack. It come with like 12 tacos in it. He bought that every now and then, but he doesn't have to do that every single time. If you just add up the dollars right there, in that video, that gentleman said he goes over every other day, and she did not dispute that. So you know that's real. So you automatically know that that's 15 days out of a month. That's 15 days. McDonald's is going to be an average of $10 because that was not a Happy Meal. That was a regular sized grown man meal. Okay, people. So that's $150 right there just on fast food. Now, if he has to do that for 3 other kids, people, that's paying $600, and that's somebody's rent and all that other stuff. Why does he have to go and do all of that? But here's the thing. She made the mistake on driving that dude off too. And women, you guys do this. The good dudes who are there doing what they're supposed to do, try to go and find the woman, and all you women shoot them down because you want. I don't know what it is. You want that other type of whatever else it is. And then when you actually have one of the good ones and you are normally treated like you were treated because of the other ones, you put all that other stuff on that dude. And when that dude bounces, like you put him in the same deadbeat dad category. And you try to paint yourself in a light that it like throw it all off of me. It's everybody else's fault. You can't do that.
And that's the point I was trying to bring out. Because what she's doing is she's saying is if you can't do for all my kids, then you can't do for none of your kids. You mean you can't do for your kid, which over time, the man is going to still do for his kid because he loves his kid. But over time, if he's got to hear that in his ear all the time, getting put on blast, like she tried to put him on blast, and there are different ways women do that in the community to try to shame you and insult you for not capitulating to their point of view, then after a while, you're going to back up.
Right.
And then if you meet another woman in your life that's treating you good and life is going good, after a while, you're going to back up all the way. Right. And you're going to be doing less and less for your kid, because what she's saying is if the other 3 baby daddies, for whatever reason, became deadbeat dads, you got to become a deadbeat dad too, because you're not going to make these other kids look bad because they're going to feel some kind of way.
And that's crazy. Now check this out. Look at it like this. Now we see it from that way. Now let's just put this scenario in the air. Let's say the food made it into the home. Now, imagine this. The food goes in there. Your dad always brings you this food. They're going to eat the food right in front of you. What if that happens?
Absolutely.
And you don't actually get a chance to eat the food. Like punishment on him for his dad being a good dad. And then he builds up some resentment that goes in towards his own families that he has to grow up with. Just imagine that part of the food entering the home.
Well, it's funny because kids fight over food, kids fight over soda, kids fight over sneakers. Even when kids are of the same parentage, they will find a reason to have fight because that's what kids do. Now, obviously, if it's food and it's every day, he's bringing something special for his kid, that's going to make them feel some kind of way. But you know what? That's their mother's fault. Because it's unlikely that all 3 of those other dads didn't try to do anything. She tried to force them to do something the way she wanted to do it until they all backed away.
Yeah,
what she's going to do is push this brother away too over time.
Mm-hmm.
If she keep doing what she's doing, because throwing the food on the ground, that was a slap to his face.
Oh, super slap. Now, did you like the main thing a lot of people are not understanding is the main points. If he's coming over every other day to drop off food, why is he not allowed to take the boy to McDonald's? That's holding the kid hostage. I already know what time. And then here's the sad thing about it is we have a lot of dudes out there that can see that that's the situation, but they're afraid to go down there to the child support office themselves to just go ahead and make it right for them. You know what I mean? Make it right for them, because you don't know how many times she has said, no, he's not coming, or he had put him under the impression that he can come pick up his son, and then when he gets there, makes a big old giant scene, and he can't even do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And trust me, I know about that because I've experienced it myself.
Yeah, that's how I can talk about it too. You already know.
Yeah, and I mean,
us that can talk about it, people. It's not a look to have this information, people, and to be able to help people on it. It's not a good thing to go through. It's not a good thing to go through. But if you don't get out and speak about it, a lot of people won't even know where to start to lace their boots up and buckle down some things. So it's information, people. But look, this to understand this, it's a lot of pain.
And most of the times as men, because we are so individualistic in mind when it comes to our families and protective of our own territory, we think we're just going through that with our woman. We don't realize that there's a whole community of Black men having the same experience, but when we come outside, we don't wear that on our face. We don't share our feelings and what we're going through with other men. And this whole YouTube space has really given Black men an opportunity to develop a brotherhood and share knowledge where, specifically because we didn't have fathers in the home to pass down certain knowledge to us, now other brothers, younger and older, are starting to share their experiences. Where women are more comfortable being in cliques and being in groups, men are now learning to do that as well. Hey, G11, welcome to Sage Talk. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well, Mr. Lee. Thanks for having me up, man.
Hello, sir.
Absolutely, no problem.
Hey,
So
what
what's
up,
your
Hot
thoughts
Fats?
on this conversation?
Hey, I think you both are 100% right. I watched that video and had a discussion with the homies the other day, and
Uh-huh.
the young lady's actions were pretty egregious to me. Like, I couldn't understand. I couldn't follow her logic trail because she did a follow-up video after that initial one where she's refusing the
Yeah.
food,
Yeah, I
and
saw the follow-up too.
it it didn't make for the life of me, I could not understand.
Well, she's doubling down on the ideology that if you can't do for all, don't do for none. And
It's
that
insane.
ideology basically says she's the one that makes the deadbeat dads. Because
Correct.
just from a economic standpoint, for every $100 you spend on your child using her logic, you spend $75 on other men's children
On the other
and
kids.
$25 on yours. So if you spend $1,000, you got to spend $750 on other men's children and $250 on yours. There's no man on this planet that's going to do that long term.
Oh,
You might do it
absolutely
once
not.
or twice not to hear her mouth, but you're not going to be doing that on a reg.
Oh, especially if we're not together. Like, what I
Right,
look like.
exactly.
What I look like.
But check
Yeah,
this out. Do you really think she doubled down? Because my take from it was her dumb self yelling in the first one. When she did the second video, it was just a more relaxed version of saying the exact same thing. It still didn't make any
Right.
sense.
Well,
oh
that's what I
yeah.
mean. She doubled down because she repeated the quote again, the mantra. That quote
She did.
rings out in my head so clearly. If you can't do for all, don't do for none.
That's why
Man.
she's trying to lead a campaign. That was like a campaign leading speech for all the women who like make all the Maury Povich women. All she's making a campaign for all of them to unite and bring down the good dudes. Let's bring down the good dudes. No, we got to
Oh,
fight
real
back.
talk.
We got to
I
fight
felt
back.
like I felt like the dude in the video, he probably was like the good one out of all the dudes that she been with. And I felt like she was trying to just pin it on him, because we've seen it happen, right? She'll have, a chick will have a couple of baby daddies. Maybe some of them aren't that great, but she'll find the one good one. For whatever reason, it doesn't work out. But he's the one that gets all the responsibility. And just as a dude, I'm like, that's not right. Like, come on, man.
But
Like, I don't know.
that comes from the era of stepdaddies because so
Yes.
many black men over the years, if you look back in the past 50 years and further back, a lot of us have taken on that responsibility of being stepdaddies. If you met a woman
Mhm.
and she had one or two children, you came in and you filled that spot and you took care of them kids. And if you had one child out of it or two, you took care of all four of them kids. And even if you broke off the relationship years later, you still giving money to the household to take care of all of them kids because you establish a relationship with them. And so this is what they're trying to continue, that ideology that a black man is just he's just supposed to serve. No,
Mhm.
we
Well,
don't we
Lee,
don't serve. We're the
let's
leaders.
Mr. Lee, I can kind of like I'm sort of a product of that, right? So
Uh-huh.
for pretty much I'm 30 years old now. But for 28 years of my 30-year life, right? I had the idea that the gentleman who raised me was my dad, like my biological dad. So this is just my story, right? But let's say about 2 years ago, we're in the height of the pandemic. Mom's dropped the story on me. She's like, "Hey, your dad might not be your dad." You know what I'm saying? She sent me a DNA test. She's like, "I know who the guy actually is." And I took the DNA test and it came back. It was like 99.999% matched to this other cat who I never even knew. And
Right.
you know, but the dude who raised me, who I consider my father, he knew the whole time as well.
And it
And
wasn't
he's
that you weren't his kid.
that yeah, and that I wasn't his kid, and he still took on
Right.
that role of my father. And
Right.
that kind of hurt me so bad because I'm like, dude, you didn't have to do he didn't have to, you know what I'm saying?
But at the
Well, you
same
see,
time, though, for you to not have to go through anything psychologically
Right.
is a blessing right there. And that's
Oh, big
like
blessing.
an old school, that's you won't find that. You will not, you can try to go find that and you will not find
No.
that. So how it eventually played out in your whole frame, like that's how it was supposed to be, you know, but people still have eternal guilt and hurt. So that's probably why, all right, you're old enough. I think it's time now to go ahead and let you out. Now I got a question for you. How was your conversation with your dad? Like your one-on-one conversation, like how was that?
So he had so you're talking about the dude who raised me, yeah?
Yes.
Who I consider my father. Okay. So he had kind of been dropping subtle hints up until my mom dropped that news on me that, hey, you know, you get a little older, gave me a little bit more backstory on what was going on. You know, hey, me and your mom, whatever. We didn't always see eye to eye, but he never threw her under the bus. He was just, you know, giving me bits and pieces of the whole picture. And then finally, when he got the news, he was, you know, when I got the news, I called and I told him, and he, you know, he wasn't even
he wasn't
surprised.
phased. Yeah.
No, he already knew. So he was calm in that whole situation, and it kind of kept me level-headed and grounded. I'm still kind of, you know, dealing with that a little bit. Like I don't have a big
Well, he
trust
was
for
prepping
moms.
both of
But
you guys in a way. He was prepping both of you guys in a way.
oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was prepping. Yeah, that's it. Hey, you was raised by the right one. He was prepping you for. Hey, man.
Yeah, real
Well,
talk. Like
he
that's
set
my
you
dad.
he set you up to have a soft landing,
He did.
Yeah.
so that you didn't really have a lot of emotional, you
Right.
know, being shook, feeling that your mom betrayed you. You know, he didn't want you to have negative feelings about your mom. He
Right.
really, and that's the kind of black men many of us used to be back in the day. And in some cases, we stepped into positions like that to rescue women.
Facts.
But we rescued women that were worthy of being rescued.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
but
That's the
yeah,
difference.
yeah, absolutely. There are women back then who made mistakes, who got with the wrong dude for whatever the case may be, or had a bad, situation. But then if she met a man and that man stepped up, she respected that man and she did not go out there and then have three, four, five more kids by three or four different dudes. She stuck with that guy and she built a family with that man.
Mhm.
Today, these women aren't doing that. They're like,
At all.
I'm gonna do me.
It's the media. It's the media. The media is so ridiculous that there's a video and it says good parenting, and there's somebody getting all ready to go out, and the baby is in a diaper with no socks on, no clothes on, and I'm just sitting there like, wow. And then the people that the media want the women to like look up to is just ridiculous, and it's the same for the dudes. You have these, and what I call them, the metro gangsters. They have a gun in one hand, a purse, and a half dress with space boots on, and and they're doing all this other stuff, and then everything about them is negative, 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 negative. But that's how the media is saying, go be like this, go be like that. Now, if you notice, if you want to watch a good sitcom that's family oriented, you have to really go to like a Netflix or something like that to really
Yeah.
like find that. They don't have them on TV anymore. Like, when you get home, the evening time, you would have those evening shows on Fridays, those same evenings. They don't even
Yep.
have those Carl Winslow's, the James Evans, the
Nah.
Bill Cosby's. They don't even have the Archies. They don't have the Al Bundy, even though Al Bundy portrayed a good dude. People don't even understand. He went through hell. He went through hell as a white man living, and all his friends was going to be the same thing. We
Right.
work
Right.
hard. The wife takes all our money. We put up with it, but that's what we going to do. You don't even see that portrayed anymore. They took
Mm-mm.
all of that out. They took it out.
Well, one of the things I think as parents today, you really have to be more proactive in selecting what your children will see.
Oh,
And
facts.
commercial television is definitely not the way to go. Most people pay for cable and different access to different media forms. You need to pay up to get the right media that you want to see. But
Right.
I want to ask the you guys on a panel about this comment right here by A Normal Man. Stepdads are simp and lames.
I'm not a
Give me a
simp
feedback
or no
on that.
lame. I'm not a simp or no lame. I'm a stepdad right now for going on 14 years. Um, I stepped in, and the dude who don't do nothing is a deadbeat dad. I'm not a simp. I was not raised by no simps. My dad, coincidentally, how this played out, and I didn't even plan this out. My oldest brother is not my dad's biological son. He took over when my oldest brother was 2 years old. I pretty much did the exact same thing my dad did, but didn't even plan it. No simps over here. It's all about when you make your decision, you make it. Now, you may go through some ups and downs in the decisions because of this and that, but when you stick to it, that's what it is. But stepdads are not simps. Now, some stepdads, I'll tell you this, that there are some dudes that will try to prey on women that have kids because they feel like they're all worn down, so it's easier for them to go ahead. All you got to do is be nice to a kid. You'll get that. If you're talking about a guy like that, and if that guy actually ends up being a deadbeat dad, yeah, you can call him a simp. Now, if a dude goes in there and they end up over time being together and he ends up a stepdad, he's not a lame. He just over time decided, I'm just going to make that decision. So what type of dude are you, the person who made that comment? Where do you fall?
Well, what I would say to that is that most of the time, men who will step up to be father to another man's child comes from a certain character of man where we believe more in community and to support the community overall. So, like, I did a show a few weeks ago and I said, chivalry and equality cannot exist at the same time. Women can't have chivalrous men and equality, because if you're saying you're equal to a man.
Right.
And if you're equal to a man are providers. That's part of what we do. We sacrifice our lives for others. Those are part of the qualities that goes into making up a man. And men who today will step up for whatever reason, why the woman made a mistake and had a child by one man, and that man saw something good in that woman, and he comes in and build a life with that woman and take care of that child, he's not a simp. I think we have broadly overextend the definition of what is a simp to include men who are responsible men.
100%. I
A
agree
simp
with
is
you.
someone who will pay a woman using his time and resources in the anticipation or expectation that he at some point in the future will be able to get with that woman. And that woman have put him in the friend zone or put him on the side somewhere, and she just use him for when she needs him, but he never gets anything out of her, but he's always giving her.
Yep. I
That
agree
to
with
me
that.
is the real definition of a simp. But I think because also that our women in our community have really now make a stepdad. They want to make stepdaddy the norm for our community, not nuclear families the norm. They want
Right.
stepdaddies to be the norm because they want the freedom to be reckless, irresponsible with their bodies, and if by them having sex with the men that they want to have sex with in their youth, and they wind up choosing to have a baby with those men because of the attachment they have to those men. Later on, now they want another man to come and pay the freight.
And
But
they
men are
know that
saying,
from the jump. They know it from the jump, though. They already have that planned out from the jump, and that's the
exactly
crazy thing.
exactly,
Facts.
They've
and
seen it
that's
from
why
aunties and all that. They've seen it. They've seen that.
absolutely
That's a pattern. That's a
that's a
pattern that has
behavior.
been
No,
boom put in place.
that's becoming
Right.
cultural in the black community. I mean, when you're seeing women being single mothers at 70+% rate of having multiple children
That's an
by different
epidemic,
men
bro.
and have never been married to any of the children's father, of course it's an epidemic. But at the same time, they want another man. At least in this case, she was trying to force one of the children's father to be father to all. There's
Yeah,
some women who want a total stranger
Yeah.
to be father to all. I
Mhm.
mean, it's so exaggerated in terms of what women are seeking today for their own personal life.
I got a
And it's
question
Freedom.
right here. She said her food stamps didn't come in. Now that's 4 kids right there. That's 4 kids right there. I don't know how much she eating or but then that's negligence on knowing that you can go to the grocery store, buy things, and cook and all that. You know what I mean?
right.
She getting all that money for all them kids, and you
She's
don't know
not
if
being
it's in
responsible with her
cash.
resources.
But
She's claiming all them on taxes unless she's selling her kids off to somebody to claim them. Unless she's doing all
Right.
that other stuff too,
She's selling them on taxes, hands down.
and
but
probably
hey,
selling her food stamps.
hold on,
Okay. Truth. Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you, sir?
how y'all doing, brothers?
Okay,
Doing
doing
good,
well.
bro.
How you doing?
How
What's
you
your
doing?
conversation? What's your
All right.
contribution to the conversation?
Now let me ask y'all a question. Was y'all? I mean, was y'all raised by was men in y'all life?
Yeah.
I had
Yes.
men in my life, yes.
100%.
Okay. I mean, I I was always taught no ready-made families.
Absolutely. That's something that many households, both the mothers and the fathers, would teach their boys.
Now, my grandfather, when he met my grandmother, she had kids, but he taught me and my uncles like no ready-made families. So like I deal with a chick if she have a kid, but I'm not. If I had to have my first child, it's not with a woman that already had kids because I can't set my legacy. That's somebody else's.
Truth, I think
Well,
that's every man's first choice is to like not deal with the woman who already has kids. But I mean, to kind of segue or connect that earlier question, I think stepdads are important. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I
no,
think
no, they are, but most of the time,
Mhm.
especially nowadays, is this woman gonna make that household so comfortable for you? Whereas though you understand, whereas though you can is no problem.
Well, you got to look at it like this. When you're dealing with man and woman anyway, there's going to be problem no matter what because
right.
we're gonna clashing is going to happen. First of all, we're two individual people, and then we're male and female, and then living together, occupied with each other. Like you're gonna have clashes. Like the
That's
other
part
stuff
of the
that you want
game.
to bring into that to make it like expand.
No,
That's
no,
up
no,
to
no, no,
that's
no,
up to
no.
you and
No. Listen, everybody gonna have clashes, but what I'm saying is, she's gonna make it so comfortable for you that is cool. You understand what I'm saying? Like, whereas though, like you could discipline that child.
Mm, I don't know.
You
discipline another man's child?
what? No, that's what I'm saying. Like he said, sometimes you have deadbeat fathers, right?
Right? Yes.
So if a man step in and that's his woman now, and he knows that, are you able to discipline them children?
Oh,
Most of the time,
that's an
no.
easy question.
Yeah.
That's an easy question right there. If it's my situation, how like my oldest son, my stepson, his dad like there's 0% of anything. He just turned 15, 14 years have been with me. If I go give him a whooping, I'm gonna give him a whooping because he don't know seeing there's nothing involved. If there's a father that's involved with his child, then you have to talk to that father man to man and be like, look, man, your son's doing this or your daughter's doing this. You got to go talk to him like that. Now, if you just start whooping on
Right.
somebody,
No,
you can't do
no,
that.
no, no. What I'm saying is, so listen. Would you allow him to date a woman that has a child?
You talking about his son?
Yeah,
His son.
Your
yeah.
I
stepson.
mean, I
Your
mean,
stepson.
first of all, you were the example. So normally when someone sees, like what someone most kids will try to follow if it's in a positive direction. If they see it growing up as a negative thing, they probably won't steer to that. But, you know, when you become mature, you know, and you can make that decision for yourself, you make that decision for yourself. All we got to do is just, hey, support and try to give advice, and that's it. You know,
but still, as parents, you supposed to guide your child.
Right. You don't want them. You don't want them to. It's like you said. Every guy, you want it to be the way you want it to be. You know what I mean? Like you want it that way, but sometimes it just don't play out like that. You know.
Well,
But
what I would say to support
go
what
ahead.
Truth R is saying is that I would think that's a complicated conversation because, like
Right.
yourself, hot facts. If you have raised that young man from he was a baby, you're the only dad that he knows. And then when he's around 16, 17, 18, whatever, and he starts having girlfriends, and one day he brings a girl home and she's got a 2-year-old daughter and the girl
Right.
is 18 years old. How are you going to advise your son, who may be, he's going into college his first year. He might be
Mhm.
studying finance. He might be going to medical school or being an engineer, whatever. But I mean, you don't know this young girl from a hole in the wall,
Right.
but you're not saying she's a bad person, but you're looking at your son's life and what you have provided for him and laid as a platform for him, a trajectory for his life to go. How are
Oh
you going
yeah.
to advise him?
Oh well, right now we are on that right now because you know he's a super smart volleyball. He's out there with the wrestling team, and they got him out there for basketball. And right now, I'm letting them know from playing sport and stuff. Now, your job is school and sports, and I'm letting them know that girls are a distraction. They will take you away from the sport, and then it will take you to failure. That's what we are in,
Okay.
right? We are in force field school work. School means work, and I break it down to them. I break down the hours, you know, everything to them. Like this
Right.
is your job. Girls are not your thing. So I'm trying not to really like put it so hard to make them want to go, but you
Right.
know, is that constant reminder, or if I see something about to happen, it's like I throw my thing there. Whoops, nope, look, force field there, force
Put
field.
out the barrier real quick.
Yeah, barrier
Hey,
real quick.
but facts, you know, this is interesting. So I have 2 daughters. I don't have a son. I wish I had a son. Maybe I'll try for a third.
I got
but,
a younger girl, and we
Congratulations.
gonna talk about something. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out, once my daughters are a little bit older, like one is 5, one is 1, so they're nowhere near,
Yeah, they're
talking
babies.
about that stuff yet. But
Right.
I want them, my goal for them, or what I want for them, is to get married. Like, I don't want them to have kids out of wedlock and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like, I'm gonna steer them away from
Well,
that. So
question: are you married?
I am,
Okay. Well, that's
like,
that's
9 years.
definitely
It's been a long time.
congratulations.
9 years,
Absolutely.
yeah, man. I'm on 10
Yeah.
years myself. Congrats there, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, you in there.
The
Hey,
key is to always make sure you and your wife is on the same. You see she see the plan that you have, right? Because
right,
you're mapping out the direction for the family and what your expectations are, and then you're conveying that to her and getting feedback from her to make sure she understands and she can support that. Because especially since they're girls, she's going to be the one having those quiet moment talks
right. Oh,
as they
real
get
talk.
older.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
So
daughter's
yeah,
5. My daughter's 5
yeah.
also.
Dang.
And I just had a situation. Now I have a video that I just put up 3 weeks ago. It's got 300 and I think 30,000 views right now. And
Sheesh.
my daughter is light skinned. Now my wife is Peruvian, Italian, and Mexican, right? So
Wow.
obviously my daughter is light skinned, and my daughter has
Right.
nice hair, and so she had an issue. The little light skinned girls around here have a little issue with dark skinned girls. Little dark skinned girls call little light skinned girls ugly. So my daughter, I told the story because my daughter says that they call her ugly because her skin of black is not their color skin of black. Now here's how this went. I, as a parent, had to go and tell her to do what she had to do. Don't come crying no more. But I had to do that as a man. And then from the black side, see, my wife had to talk to her on the girl side. I had to figure out how to, I have to do the immediate, and then there's a whole girl connection there that I don't even know of. So my wife had to do that part, but then I had to come back in and bring in the blackness in because my wife had to learn from me on why did that happen right there. Now the lame simps for the stepdads, I have a daughter in this situation who lives here too. I gotta break that stuff down because he's my oldest son, he's light skinned too. So
Right.
Stepdad got to step in and teach all of that stuff, man. And I just want to bring that up right there.
One thing I would add to you on that, hot facts, is that especially for your daughter, you may want to go back through history for the past century and find successful, accepted black people who were light skinned.
Mm-hmm.
So she can develop a positive self confidence in herself about other successful black people who were light skinned that other black people respect.
Yes. Yes.
And that will
100%
because when
agree.
she get into those arguments, then she can start hitting them
Start facts, hitting them
with
hot facts.
information, dropping it on them, and that's gonna back them up and make them feel less than, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
let's deal with this question here for a second, or this statement. Nurse Fancy, she says, how do men feel that they have a seed on earth and they not providing? Now,
Well,
like I
see,
said,
go
my
ahead.
perspective on that is that I believe if you lined up 10 black men who had children with a black woman or with a woman particularly, 8 out of 10 or at least 7 out of 10 would be providers of their children. That's my perspective on that because I know too many black men my age, younger, and young boys. I mean, boys in their 20s and young men in their 30s who have children and are providing and are going through struggles with the mom. So a lot of times it's not that the dad is not providing, is that women try to break men to have men act the way they want them to act. A lot of times I hear women say, "Well, we're not your mother. Why are you acting like you is his mother? Why are you trying to put the man under your control if you're not his mother?"
Facts.
But women try to do that to black men, and they want them to do the things they want you to do, how they want you to do it, not how you want to do it. You could be a provider, but you're going to provide how you see providing.
And on top of that, this goes back to this is a redirection. This question is shooting it off of someone's self accountability. Also,
Absolutely.
okay, so
Absolutely.
this is what this is here. So how do we feel? If you have a seed on the earth and you are not providing, and I'll let you know, it came like this. When you met that dude and you guys met on the we are just this, and you're letting the dude talk and tell you whatever stuff that he's doing, and you're a-okay with all that stuff, and then you see that you don't know what he really does. He's slipping and sliding, and you're a-okay with that. Now, when a huge responsibility comes like this is like signing your life away. If he can escape and dodge, he's going to escape and dodge. And that goes back on you not even going through a checklist on anything about the dude. So, it's really how do you feel about picking a dude that's not going to provide and do anything. That's one of them dudes you got to track and find to pay child support. He's working under the table in the Chinese restaurants, packing crates and stuff. That's what he's doing. So we're gonna redirect that question back over there, so you can figure that one
facts.
out.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think it goes either one or two ways, right? In terms of how a dude feels about it, I think they either just don't care, like you said, if they could duck and dodge it, they out. Or, from my experience, so like just as a dad, someone who's been married for a while, right? If I can't do for my kids, I feel like shit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, damn, okay, I got to work a little bit harder so I can save up some money and do what I need to do, type thing. So, I think it's either one of the two.
But that's very general in terms of men. Part of a man's self-confidence come from his success and his ability to provide not only for himself, but for those who depend on him, your children and your wife. And the key is, why are women making children with men who have not made a commitment to them to marry?
I don't know. That's the question.
Lou, welcome to the conversation. Welcome back to Sage Talk. How you doing?
How
How
you
are
doing,
you,
Lou?
sir?
Good to see you again.
How you
All
doing?
right.
How's everyone on the panel? Mr. Lee, I'll answer your question, and it was a perfect way to get me on. Actually, this
Uh-huh.
is why women are comfortable being with the Pookies and Ray Rays,
Hey.
because good men
You
are
know what?
paying taxes.
Hold on. 1 second. I don't want to just make it seem as though only Pookies and Ray Rays these women are having children by, because it's not. So
Oh, we
let's
got
not
Subjectively.
Brandon
put all the
Tires.
weight on them. There are other men in our society, black men, who are having children with these women who are not just Pookie and Ray Rays. So they have to have some accountability in there too.
100.
Of
Go ahead.
of course, but to give you an answer to your direct question, the reason why women are comfortable being with men that are not most suitable per se is
Uh-huh.
because they understand that other men are paying taxes towards their bad decisions. Okay. This woman
I think
mentioned. This
I think
woman
that's a
mentioned.
1 second. Let's have the conversation back and forth.
Yep.
I think that's a stretch, because what you're saying is that women are making the calculation economically, when we know women are just poor when it comes to either making a budget, how they spend money, how they make money sometimes, because the careers that they choose in school most of the time are not the careers that they work. So I'm not going to say that they're making such a deep calculation that because they're getting taxes. I would say, grant the tax goes into giving them the free benefits that they get, such as Section 8 and other monies that they get from the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So granted, they know that, and they know they can use that to their benefit. But I don't think they make the calculation to the guy's taxes, right? Or at
What I'm
least the
trying.
guy that they're effing.
What I'm trying to say is that they
Huh?
understand that there's a safety net for them, but not
Okay,
so
that I
much
agree.
towards men. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Of course, women are not deep diving into these things, but she mentioned the food stamps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And after she mentioned the food stamps, she threw the food on the floor.
Yo,
That
she
was
did.
that was a very interesting thing to point out
And what
because
and what what does that show you? What did you get from that? And I'd like that
that
question to be answered by everyone else on the panel. What did that actual action that she did by throwing the food on the floor, how did you interpret that?
that shows me that number one, the kids are not as hungry as she says they are, because she wouldn't
Okay,
have thrown it away if they were going through that type of a struggle. 100%.
okay,
Because
cool.
she's a mother, so that side of her brain would have immediately caught that, like, hey, don't do that. This is provisioning, right?
Okay.
And then
Don't
number
elaborate too
two,
much. No, don't elaborate too
go
much.
ahead.
Just drop
Go
one
ahead.
answer. G11, you next, and then hot facts.
To me, it's just her straight up saying, "You didn't do it the way I wanted you to do it, so
Okay. Give
fuck
me
your
a single
resources."
word of what that translates to.
Oh,
One
just
word.
disrespect. Disrespect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Disrespect. Hot
Yep.
facts.
Yeah, that was the ultimate disrespect. Like that was I control my situation disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you said one of the words that I was going to use. I don't see it as a disrespect. I see it as psychological control.
Mm-hmm. That
That
too.
was a psychological move for her to flex, to bring him under her control.
Mm-hmm.
And our women have been doing that generations upon generations. That's why she's able to do it so fluidly.
Imagine if the kids saw that. Saw a
They
mom
don't
just
care if the
slapping.
kids see that.
That's
Sometimes
crazy.
they make the kids see it because they're trying to paint the father in a bad light. And later, she's going to give the child the interpretation of what
Yeah.
they saw.
I think she was gonna try to do this. Low key, I think she was gonna have him say, "Well, here, I'm gonna go back and go get some more food." And then she was gonna call him a punk or something while he was go get in the car and drive off. I
Oh
felt she
yeah.
was, yeah, all of that, like
Exactly. That's absolutely. I agree with you. That's
I
what
was
she was
mad
trying to get
crap
him to
about
do.
that.
She wanted him to bend and break. And she put him on blast because by putting him on blast, by making that live video like she did, she wanted to the audience, and what he now knows is going on, he's going to be like, all right, all right, all right, all right, whatever you want. He wanted him to capitulate. That was all done psychologically to break him, to bring him under her control. Hey, Hank, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Saints Talk. How are you, brother? What do you have to say on this conversation?
What's going on,
On
Mr.
this
Lee?
topic?
What's happening, big brother? You good?
I'm doing good, man. Appreciate it.
Right on. Well, man, what are we talking about? The question you just asked again? Are we?
Yeah, the question I just asked. That would be, we could start there and back into it.
Well, I mean, like you said, to me, it was just totally disrespectful to me. I mean, that's the just I get from it. You know, like my man said, was the kids really that hungry that she tried to lead on? No, I doubt it, because like you said, she probably would have showed a little bit more appreciation for that, even that little bit of food, and would have made a way out of no way if he had to. But like you said,
so that means we know it's not about the food.
Mm-hmm. That's the control part.
Them kids
that
really
action lets you know it's not the food is being used as a justification for something else.
Yeah,
it's not about the food.
Yeah, she just wanted to flex on him, and
she wanted to flex on him. Exactly.
Yeah,
that was a power grab.
Yeah, them kids real thing touching, because if they was, she would have threw that food on the floor.
Yo, she got to get at least $700 in food stamps a month with 4 kids,
I'm
man.
telling you, at least 700.
At least 700.
More than that,
Don't forget child tax credit too.
No, she get more than that if she got 4 kids.
Can I touch on this though? Because Lou touched on this.
Get 1 G in food
stamps. Can I touch on this, because Lou touched on this, and I agree with him now. Now, Sage, you said, Lee said, you don't think that they're thinking about it that deeply about the taxes and all that. They absolutely are. They're just bad business owners. They are just bad business owners. They automatically know from watching close immediate family, friends in their neighborhood. They all get kids and talk about how much they're getting. Well, I got this dude that do this. Oh, he got a good job. I make sure that, and they calculate all of that stuff so they don't have to do anything. Like Lou said, it's a safety net that they know that they have. They know they have this many kids for taxes to sell them. They got this much to keep for themselves to sell this much on food stamps. They know how to work the cheap business. Now, that's what it is, but they absolutely think that deep about that. They just don't know how to run it the right way. They're just bad business owners.
There's no consequences too, though.
Yeah, so they can run into the dirt. They can run into the dirt.
Bro, back in the day, so me and the wife, we had a whole discussion about this, right? You know, if you had a child out of wedlock, you go to church, you're not sitting on the front row of church, you're sitting in the back, you know what I'm saying? Or if you had a child, that child went and go live with a relative or something like that so they could get raised, you know, and you were kind of looked at weird in the family. That all that stuff has kind of gone away, right? I mean, now we coddle the people that are having all these kids. Now we are celebrating them.
Promote it.
We promote it.
It's more promoted. It's promoted.
Yeah. Back in the days, you remember they used to make you feel guilty.
Yo, you're going to hell for everything.
Well, not only that, they would send you down south, or if you were down south, they would send you up north to have the baby. Then you come back and finish school, and the baby comes back, and that's your baby sister or cousin, because your mother's sister raised it, and now that's your little auntie or something.
Yep.
All kind of craziness, right?
Family
Until you get old enough, and then maybe later, if you meet a good guy, then he'll step in, take care of you, and you guys form a relationship, and then you bring the child in and raise the child at a later age, right? Sometimes the child don't even know who his real mother is until they're 7, 8 years old.
That's true. Is auntie so and so? It wasn't really your aunt; it was your mom. You know,
it's just your real mom, exactly.
Mr. Lee, I was in a Bath and Body Works yesterday, catching one of them good, that good Bath and Body Works sale for the candles. And
yo, let me turn this down. If my wife hear that, my credit card bill gonna go up.
Oh, well, I apologize, but I didn't talk down on it, but it's coming. So I was in there. I got these candles, and a lady was in line that was in front of me. She already had a baby in her hand, and the baby looked like she's about 1, maybe 2 years old.
Right.
But then she's pregnant again with another child. I swear this child, she didn't look no more than 19 years old. And she's working on her second child. I'm like, God damn, man. Where's the shame? Where's the disappointed? That's a problem. That is
was there a ring on her finger?
No. Come on, Mr. Lee. I wouldn't if that was the case, I wouldn't have brought up the story. But that's not the case.
Okay.
She's in there with her mother, buying candles and doing other things. And like I said, she looked like she's probably about 5 or 6 months pregnant with the second child.
That's crazy.
Child in the hand. I'm like, my Lord. And I was asking my lady, I was like, how old do you think she is? To me, she looked like she wasn't no more than 20, but she might have been a little bit younger than that. But that's just the situation that is going on now, today, 2022.
But that's generational, bro. The reason why she's able to do that is because in her family, it's already been done. She's seen the blueprint with her mother's sisters and the rest of the family that she knows now, you know, and sometimes what happens too, like she was probably one of those kids that was raised on a system. So now that she's 18, 19,
she's seen
mama is about to get kicked off the system. So she now has a baby and she could put mama back on the system by staying in the same house. So they keep everything.
But check this out too. At the same time, you look at what the media does. most of the celebrities and they're targeting families as far as like the live with and watch them. And it's normally the women who had those kids young. So now their kids and them kind of look the same and they're doing that. So a lot of these women want to have kids real young to party with their kids. That's what
sister moms.
Yeah, exactly. The sister mom. A lot of them want to be sister moms. You get that. They want to do the exact same thing. I want to go to the club with my kid, and it's ridiculous. It's out of control. It's out of control.
And that's how you have your boyfriend sleeping with your mom.
Exactly.
Wasn't there just video on that? Just the other day, there was a video on that. Hey, Meek, welcome to Sage Talk. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right. Mr. Lee, it's good to see you again, gentlemen. Good to see you again. Seen a few of you guys on other panels. Listen, first of all, she's getting about 1,000 in food stamps. Now, if she is getting public assistance, she's getting child support or somebody on child support. Because I know you ain't got 4 baby daddies and ain't none of them on child support.
That's true.
So whatever portion they giving her, this is the part that I think a lot of, I don't know if black women know or don't understand, but a portion of that money gets taken out. If they're taking 1,000 a week from me, you're only going to get about 300 or 400.
Absolutely.
Like, they're not giving you the full portion.
But that cash that she gets, that cash she can use for whatever. I mean, you saw how she was looking.
Yep.
She was looking good. Her nails was done. Her nails was fresh.
Had the eyelashes.
She was looking. Let's just
everything on her was fake.
Yeah.
Everything.
But the kids is hungry.
Everything. She was talking about all that stuff and went and got ready for. She got ready to sit inside of a Geo Metro.
She got ready to complain about how she doesn't have money to get ready.
Let's deal with this comment right here. Super Caliente. He says it's because he's still hitting it.
Yo, that's very possible.
Hey, he's a fool. He's a fool.
Well, we know he's hitting it because she said so.
Yeah, he's a fool. He's a fool for doing it. And what's gonna happen? He mess around, get up pregnant again. Now he's gonna have a second child with this woman.
Ooh wee.
So now you got a lifetime of issues you gotta deal with.
Yo, why are people so irresponsible with their sex, bro? This is crazy. This is insane.
Because they would never.
They took you out of schools. Remember in like the it's like 9th grade was mandatory, but like once you start going to junior high, they start showing you the banana stuff and all that. They don't even have home ec in school. They took all that stuff out. They took out the real stuff to make you learn. They took all that stuff out.
But you also,
but they got the alphabet stuff now.
Teach your kids that.
Now you learn the alphabet soup.
That's the thing. You also have to be taught in the home, right?
Yeah, you know, I would never rely on the school. Man, look at my son to go to school. Only thing he needs from the school is math, English, and science. That's it. Everything else, teach my son history. Teach my son history because you're not going to teach him the history that I need for my son to know. So no,
but like how school was back in the day,
I need to teach my son. Everything else will fall back on me. So they don't need to teach my son about finance. I'm going to educate him on that. They don't need to teach my son about sex because I'm going to educate him. They don't need to teach him how to cook because I'm going to educate him on that. That's not what we.
But you know,
But that's the
Hank,
problem. They took all that stuff out. They didn't take it out. Like those were just how the teachers were. They felt like those were their kids and stuff. So like that's how it was. Now when people start tripping, you take all that stuff out and look at how wild it is. I know you're gonna do it yourself. You are responsible. You are responsible. I know you are. But if little hints aren't there, you know what I mean? Like they took the ability to even, to drop jewels. You can't even drop jewels anymore, and the jewels that they have, for example, they're not set.
Also, today, the breakdown of the fabric of society, the way women are moving, you don't have fathers involved with their children. And even fathers who want to be involved with their children, for the woman to be able to get the max child support, she has to make sure he don't see that kid that much.
Mm-hmm.
So by restricting him from seeing his kid, she can select the highest compensation rate that she can receive.
Mr. Lee,
so all of these things are strategic and deliberate. So it's keeping the father from having a strong influence either in his son's life or his daughter's life or both if you have multiple children. And it's creating where the school is now the school system and the old overall societal system is trying to fill the void of being a parent. And we know one thing government can't do is run good organizations.
Mr. Lee, though, the problem is a lot of these men need to learn the laws of the state about how all of this works, family court and everything. You need to learn it all. Don't rely on somebody else to just railroad your ass. I tell people, black men, protect yourself at all times. And I mean about everything. I don't mean out there in the streets, in your home, in child support, child custody. You got to protect yourself at all times. And so you need to learn these laws of family courts in your respective state. You have to, or you're going to get fucked.
I'm going to say something that you probably have never heard. I'm going to say something that you probably have never heard. I ain't going to say never, but I'm going to say it's highly, highly rare. I'm one of, I would say, select few dudes who I represented myself in the court. Myself, the visitation, the child support. I went, now they want to do that to me, so guess what I did? I'm going to go to the library, did all that stuff, watching Law and Order, all that stuff, went and did my thing, right? She want to put me through that? Yes. I'm signing up for the supervised visitation. First, you got to go in that little small room with the broken toys. I'm signing up for that. Yes. It looks dumb. Dudes, do it. Fellas, do it. It goes from there to supervised visitation. Make her have to appoint someone that she trusts to come and follow you around with the kid. You know what I used to do? Pick the biggest park and walk. Whenever it was time to sit down, they sit down. I keep walking with my kid and do stuff like that. Yes. And do it just like that the whole time. Smart. Make it so that if it's ever a time to where the kid can't come, it's on them. You do it like that. You go with the system. Each time you do your thing, once you get off, you got to get your time going. Once you get 37% of visual time with the kid, you don't have to pay child support as a man. Fellas, 37% of actual time, then they calculate when the kid is with you and what you are spending. Once you are able to do that, you are going to be at zero. I got my child support taken off. I have zero with zero rears. I have no balance. I have zero. I have never missed a payment and went and represented myself to the point to where when I was in court going back and forth, some of the lawyers said, are you a lawyer? No, library, fellas, the self-help center in the bottom, fellas. Someone will assist you with all the paperwork and do that stuff with you. Do that. The library is free. YouTube is free. When I said Law and Order SVU, I am not lying. The cases that they bring up, go look at those up in the library. Use everything you got to use. Do that system with them. And when the judge ultimately sees that, dang, this dude doing every single step, it blows all the way back on them. Now you get what I used to get, overpayment child support, to where you're getting checks coming in the mail that say overpayment. I would go cash them checks and people would say, how the heck do you get those? I say, by doing what you're supposed to do. A lot of dudes don't want to do it. The women hold them hostage on that because they don't want to go down there. Now, a lot of dudes have other issues going on to where they don't want to go step into where the sheriff and the county is because they're going to take them. but that's that's their fault too. That's their fault too. But you at least got to understand the know-how and put the foot forward. I tell a lot of dudes, I'm one of the only dudes that did that. One of the only dudes that did that, and I didn't care. I said, if this is what I got to do, I'm gonna do it. I've seen too many men fail on every talk show that has lasted and has failed. It's bash men, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm not
Well, I
gonna
will
do
say
it.
this. I'm with you on that because I represented myself, and New York State was a bit different. I'm not sure what state you're in,
I'm in
but
California.
California. Oh, okay. Uh,
Sure, they got the
I did.
same
I,
rules.
I did my whole representation for myself, and I got every weekend for every month, 4 days, 4 weeks out of the month. Friday night 6 o'clock to Sunday night 9 p.m. So that was what I had for all of the time that I had visitation. So it was challenging, but sometimes my ex-wife she didn't adhere to the court agreed visitation as well. She would try to fight me on that and keep me from seeing him and whatnot. So it is a struggle. But for custody, I went to see an attorney, and he was recommended to me. He was not the World Trade Center, Empire State Building. He was on
Mm-hmm.
the 100th floor, 106th floor, and I met with him, this Jewish guy, and he sat me down and said, "Look, unless you're willing to lie on this woman or could prove that she is a drug addict, that she is just incapable of being a good mom in New York State, you're not going to win." And he said, he asked me where I work, and I told him all that. So he's like, "I'm going to need at least 20 grand, and you're going to spend at least
Jeez.
100,000, and you're still going to lose." So I was kind of like, I was shook when I walked out of there because I definitely wanted to get custody of my kids if I could have, because they would have had a
That's
tremendously better life with
that's
me
why I went through
than with them.
to do all them. That's why I did all those steps that don't nobody do. In order to see how it works, you got to do that case study on yourself too, and actually go through it. But I want to tell
Yeah, but
this
this,
to all the men out there: there's a difference between mediation and the actual court document. Now, you guys might go to mediation, and you guys are saying, "Yeah, we want to need mediation. I got it like this, fellas." That is just agreeing that you guys are civil. They can still. Let me tell you, I had this happen to me. Went to go take my son his Christmas gifts. I was not allowed to give him his Christmas gifts, and they refused to have me give it to him because the mediation paper, fellas, that is not stamped by the judge as official. It means nothing. When the police come, they're going to tell you that this is not the actual document. This is just mediation. Don't think because a woman has a mediation paper over you, fellas, that is final. That's just saying that you guys are not going to waste people's time and come into court. So just know that. I just want you guys to know that part.
I was
that's
on
true.
child support for 4 months. Four
Damn.
months. That was it. We went.
Good for
The
you,
woman,
bro.
huh?
I said, good for you.
The woman was like, "Nah, you know what? I'm getting a shit deal here."
I
And then,
must have dropped close to 300 grand over the past 21 years well, not
and
21 years, 18.
and you
18
know
with
what?
both of my sons. One was 4 years older than the other. So,
The
but my
judge,
youngest one, he got the majority of the time.
the judge looked at her and said, "You need to take him." I got lucky. I guess this judge was feeling good that day. He was like, "You need to take him off child support. It's better that way for you and your children."
Wow. What
My
state was
brother
that?
has it like that. My brother has it
New
like
York.
that. Actually,
New
my
York,
brother has it
really?
just like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
New
New
back in
York.
York has it
I
like that.
got my case back in the 90s, and it was tough. It
Well,
was
I
tough, and
Yeah, you're not
everything
lying
was
about
signed
that.
off by the judge, but it was truly tough. Now, RP Nomad says, Lee, what if a single mother lied about you in court?
They all do
Well,
it.
they
That
do
that
lie
that's
about
what
you in
they
court,
do.
and one of the most difficult things to disprove is something that didn't happen, right?
Mm,
Very hard to prove something that didn't happen. So that's usually where a lot of men find themselves in a real bad situation. I was fortunate that, as difficult as I had it with my ex-wife, she never really lied. She said some things because I'm a Hebrew Israelite. She said some things in court, told the judge, that I raised the kids to hate white people and I hate white people,
jeez.
stuff like that. So the judge says, "Is that your religion?" I said, "Yes." He said, well, that's his religion. That was the end of that.
Yeah, I tell
But
you though.
but she tried to, use stuff like that. She wasn't really mean in court. And
Well,
my
that's the
situation
woman.
really wasn't that bad. She really just tried to maintain as much control over the kids as possible. We didn't have a big money fight, which
I find
was
that
cool.
funny because women want equality, but they will use their kids against you and not care about the kids' feelings. How evil are you?
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
You want to know what I found weird was like, because I had been taking care of my children. Like it was, I don't have no issue taking care of my children. My thing is, if you're gonna lay down and do it, willy nilly, you better man up and don't complain. What I found funny was like, it's a crazy experience to be taking care of your child and having a whole courtroom full of people telling you you've never taken care of your child. Like that's a wild experience.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it like this, man. Hey, fellas.
Shalom, JKB.
Having a conversation with the woman, try to do that. Try to talk to them and try to negotiate and do what you have to do. And if you can do that, and you know the type of woman you had a child with, if she's willing to do that, then do it. Like I said, but if she's not, then fellas, you better protect yourself. So,
but even if you negotiate, what I would say, Hank, even if you negotiate, get the agreement in writing, put it down on paper.
That's part
don't pay her in cash
or
anything. Give her a check or do it electronically where there's a record.
It's a record,
because they could go back to the court 5-6 years later, and the court will just say, "Well, that was a gift," and your court support starts now. It starts from back then.
Yes.
You start paying now, and you're 5 years in arrears.
Well, see,
6
that's
years
what
in
I was
arrears.
going to say, Mr. Lee.
That's
As far as the point, I told him, I said, man, you know what type of woman you dealing with? Go ahead and put yourself on child support. Now, people get on me, no, man, why would you do that? Because let me tell you, just like you said, she went back 10 years on him. 10 years. So you owe 10 years. They count interest and everything. They're not going to how much your salary was 10 years ago. They going by what you currently make now.
What you making now?
Absolutely right.
I work with a guy.
Don't put yourself in that situation. If you got that type of vindictive ass, trifling ass bitch, put yourself on the system now and get that shit over with. Do what you have to do.
Facts.
I work with a guy. His daughter's almost 30. He's still paying child support.
Yeah.
Damn.
Paying to that child, not the woman, but to that child.
Yeah, when I was 18, I went to court. I called my father and we went to court, and I canceled it. I told the judge that I wanted my dad to be off child support because my mom used my dad against me my whole life. Used me against my dad my whole life. So my way to pay him back, my bad, because mom's is just evil. Let's cut this off,
Right. Now, see, I'm on the other end. Now, my son's father has never done anything, right? So I search. I pay for the spy search so I can look up anything and everything. He hides. He literally hides to not do it. But then you get dudes like this that see that, dang, that dude is actually doing the stuff, and then they'll use that as their that's my get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? But what's gonna happen to him is when they actually find him, like you said, all those records and stuff that are when that's gonna be it. I know a dude that owes like $150,000.
Ouch.
You think the dude in this case, like with the video with this? Oh, my fault, Mr. Lee.
And I'm gonna have a topic on this maybe next week. But when you have situations like that where you pay child support for a child, you don't even raise the child, you don't even know the child very well. What do you do when you get older and you have to make out your legacy, your insurance, or wealth properties that you may own or business that you may own? Because I found myself in a situation the other day. I was at the bank, and the bank offered me an insurance policy that was really good, $1 million policy, good rate. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take it. But then they asked me, who's going to be your beneficiary? I was in a perplex. I mean, I put my son, but I'm like, I don't even know him. He don't even know me.
Mm.
Is
You
there a
know, when we
possibility
start
that if
talking
you
about
didn't put
legacy,
him down, that the wife could take it? The
say again.
ex-wife? Is there a possibility that if you didn't put him down, that the ex-wife could take it?
No, no, absolutely
Okay,
not.
That
because
goes
you know
straight to
these
the state,
loopholes.
buddy.
I don't know the
No.
loopholes. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
What?
she would have no access to anything that I do at this point. But the point is that, you know, I think as black men, as we get older and we start becoming more accomplished, you know, for those of us who have broken family situations, we really have to start thinking about that. I'm thinking I might do a show on that later this week to talk about that, because that's something that we really, men, you know, we're not, this is not for deadbeat dads. These are for
Mhm.
guys like yourselves that are on the panel here, that are working, that are building yourself up, that are investing, that are owning properties, that are being successful in whatever it is that you're doing. But then by the time you're 55 going into 60, now you're starting to either think about retirement, or you got enough money where you're running a business or about to start a business. And then you have to start thinking about who's going to be your beneficiaries if and when something happens to you, right? Meek, you've been pretty quiet. Why don't you add your voice to the conversation? I'm gonna bring up Trigger Mike as well.
I mean, you know, I like for me, I already know who my beneficiaries are on my life insurance plans. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So like that's not an issue for me because I've been with my children from birth. But I want to
Congratulations.
say it again.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, it's sad that for a black man, it has to be congratulations and not. No, for real, right? Like it's
Oh,
sad.
for sure, for sure.
All right. So, but I want to get back to the original topic, right? Because I actually want to tell a story. So I have 3 daughters, 2 that like all my daughters I've been in their life, but 2 like always been under the womb all the time. My first daughter I had with an older woman that was out of her mind, and I was young and foolish. So I'm not going to put it all on her. I was young and foolish.
Okay.
So I had her with an older woman. I was about maybe 22 at the time. And so, you know, when she said it, I did say to her, like, look, you should abort. Like, I'm young. I don't want to do it. She said, no, I'm not. I said, okay, well, then I'm going to step up. That's it. You know what I mean? You have to
Okay.
be a father. Like, and so as soon as the baby was born, I went and bought all the clothes, did everything I needed to do. Well, she assumed that I was not going to be a father. She made the decision for me. So she would bring the child around. I'm trying to have a relationship with the child because I'm I want to be a father. She would just play so many games. Like when the baby was young, she would bring the child around, which I now assume is because she wanted a break from a baby child. Once the baby hit the age where we could really start bonding and the baby could understand, the only time I would see that child was when it was time for money to be shelled out. Holidays, birthday. And I'm like,
But
yo,
did you ask her to, to bring the baby over in
of
between those
course.
times?
I was
Oh, okay.
trying to always be a father. And
Okay.
it was always some sort of drama, right? And holiday come, oh yeah, here's the child. Birthday, oh yeah. Christmas, oh yeah. Other than that, I could go and F myself, right? Then it started becoming too much drama where it was just like, send me money. I'm not bringing a child over. Just send me money every holiday. Well, at this point, I was older, starting my family, which I have now, and we had things going on. Like I had to, my life was evolving. And I'm like, yo, this woman is playing too many games. So I had to step away. Now, anytime she called, I was there for the child, but I had to step away because, yo, I'm trying to grow in life. You
And she
making
never
too
put you on the system?
no.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
Well, that's probably because she's wondering if the child is mine or someone else's. because you know women,
Wow.
if they could get the bread out of you, they're gonna get the bread out of you, right?
Well, if she put you on child support in the system, even if the child turned out not to be yours, some state, once you start paying, they don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you say like with every deadbeat dad, you're the baby mama, that's the true story. Like she did not like it, come to find out, she like later on, she's like, well, she didn't think I would be a good father. And I'm looking around like, you're an idiot. Like you saw me from the beginning being around. Like you were just upset that it was over between us. Like there was no like what you think. And now, right, till this day, if the kid calls me, hey, I want to go shopping.
Why do you say the kid? I'm curious.
Because honestly, because she didn't grow up under me constantly. And so it's like, look, her mother still keeps her away. Like her mother does not want her around me.
How old is she?
You don't have a connection with her, like a good bond?
Not the way it is with my other two daughters. I'll say that.
Right, of course. They live with you.
Right. So anytime the kid calls me, hey, I need this, but to be fair, I kind of call everybody the kid too. Like everyone with children. I'm like, hey, how's the kid? You know what I mean? But
right, but sometimes that can have a negative effect on her when you speak with her at some point in the future, because you'll be referring to her as like that person.
Well, I'm conscious of not doing that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I definitely understand what you're saying. And so when the child calls me, I'm hey, I want to get this and do that. Like I will take care of the child, right? Because here's the thing: whether the child turns out to be mine or not, I still come out on the other end of that, doing what I have done. And honestly, the child calls me once a year, so I'm like, I got the money. Like,
my man, let me.
How old is she now?
15.
Oh, okay. Why don't you guys do a DNA test?
Not until she's 18.
Oh, okay. Why not? That's your call?
What happened?
That's your call or the mother's call?
No, that's my call. Not until she's 18.
Okay.
Until I'm in the clear, we could just kind of let that blow.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Let me say something, Mr. Lee. See, let's just say it. Situations like this, man. My man, I understand that you didn't have a good relationship with the woman. You should have established your parental rights, found out, got everything you needed. So if that means you have to establish paternity with the child, you should have did that. You should have not only did that, but you should have also went down there and fight for your family court for your visitational rights. Do you let her hold this shit over your head?
Nah, Hank, you wrong. You wrong. The courts allowed her to be a savage. You're wrong, Hank.
I understand what you're saying, dog.
I'm telling you.
Listen to me, my man. Get you a lawyer, establish paternity, and get every right you have. You have every right. Let me tell you that. You have every right that you miss out on, and it's not right. Well, now, I will hold you accountable on a situation too, like you said, because you probably should have been more aggressive. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think, I picked up where he's coming from, and I'm not sure if you picked up on that or not. Because he has not been intricately in her life, and he may not have been there as well financially intricately in her life. If he go open up that Pandora's box now, and it turns out to be that is his biological child, he can literally be on the hook for the next 15 years, for the past 15 years of child support with interest and penalties.
And I understand.
So for him, it's better to wait until she's 18 to determine whether or not she's his legal child, because after that, he could then start to work on building that relationship independently with her, as opposed to bringing the court system in. That's the dangerous part.
Mr. Lee, I understand that now, but I'm talking about then. Now it's too. It's far gone. To me, if I was in my man's shoes, Meek's shoes, I would establish myself then. You're not going to sit there and control me using this child as a weapon. I'm going to do what I got to do. If that means I got to work a second job, I said this before. If I got to get work a second job to get me a lawyer in order to get this thing established, then that's what I'm going to do. All that money on that second job is going to be dedicated to my lawyer and dealing with this family court to establish. Now,
but at 22,
it's too far.
22, not every young man at 22 have the counseling around him to make those type of decisions too.
You're right.
So that could be part of it.
But I never,
Mike?
but I never abandoned a child. Anytime the child calls me and says, "Hey, I need this and I need that," I still do my due diligence.
Right, he's always stood up. Yeah. Trigger Mike, welcome back to Sage Talk. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what's your point of view on this topic? About deadbeat dads.
I came in, took my kids to the pool a little while ago, but I was listening. I came in around the time y'all were talking about that video, and
yeah. I mean, that's where the theme of the conversation really started from too. So
I mean, personally, like I'm like Meek. I'm married, with 2 kids.
Right.
I don't have the baby daddy situation, but I'm surrounded by it, unfortunately. Sister-in-laws and all of that. We had a very spirited, I'll use that word, spirited discussion around the table yesterday, with me being the only man present, with all of them trying to talk about, Roe and all the recent.
I know that feeling, bro.
Oh man. And
I wouldn't waste my time, though.
No. I made some strides because I don't back down. And if you'll hear me say it every single show, you don't back down, and you don't give way to a failed gynocracy in any respect. It's like you're not gonna pierce me with fake, just give them facts. It'll all fall apart. So that's all I did.
Absolutely.
Don't argue with no woman.
I gave
the thing is they don't care if they're wrong. That's the thing.
Yeah, I gave them fact after fact after fact. And you should have just seen them. I mean, respect to them, but they still think the gender pay gap is real. That's how bad it was. It was real bad, bro. But anyway, back to what y'all were saying. I think that video was a critical milestone in the aftermath of the gender war that women lost. I feel like it was that important. I actually thank God for that video being made and released. In my own personal opinion, and I know this is going to be kind of like inflammatory to say, but that video represents to female entitlement what Emmett Till's open casket represented to the civil rights movement. Like, any self-respecting woman has to look at that and choose a side. Like, what side are you on? Because that right there is full display on showcase, the entitlement, and on full display. Now you got to choose a side. You know what I mean? So that's really what I had to say about it.
And that's why you have a lot of women trying to say, "Oh, that was fake. That was fake. She's an influencer." Here's the thing: she came back with another video and defended herself.
Doubled down.
She doubled down on the.
If it was fake, it backfired 100%.
Hey, look at the comments on the videos.
It did backfire. But she thought she was going to out him, and she outed herself.
Oh, of course. Well, that's the funniest part. I'm going to expose him. You expose yourself. But here's the thing. That's why a lot of women want to say, no, it's fake. They need it to be fake.
Absolutely.
So that they don't have to look in the mirror. So that because honestly, a lot of them see themselves. And that's what
the thing is. See, one of the thing is that the arrogancy of the baby mama club is so wild now.
It's crazy
that they have, because it's been accepted behavior in the community for so long, they think they could just come on YouTube and show it, and it's going to be accepted as well. Oh, yeah. And they don't realize that for the past decade, brothers have been countering all those talking points and behavior, that now you even have women who are awakened to this bad behavior who have not been a part of it.
Yeah.
And when she threw the food on the floor, Mr. Lee, let's just say this was completely real. That dude's heart must have sunk. Like, man, I'm trying, and this is what you'll do.
You saw it in his face.
He was trapped. He was trapped.
Yeah. that dude is going to turn into one of the coldest dudes in life. He's just
exactly. And then 5 years from now, somebody gonna ask him who hurt you.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Hey,
That's what some black women are gonna say one of these days.
Exactly.
Who hurt you?
I don't know if y'all.
Yes,
If that dude was in
one of
our
you black
circle,
women hurt me.
if that dude was in our circle, we would have rolled his punk ass out for you. You being a bitch, man. You a bitch because you look like a real bitch. The way she treats you.
I don't know if y'all ever watch mediocre tutorials and reviews, but he would say this is like the making of a villain. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, making of a villain.
In
It
real
absolutely
time.
is.
In real time.
In real time.
It really is. And that's why I said that's the making of a deadbeat dad. Because you're trying to get one man to pay the freight for 3 other children that are not his kids.
And what I really had to say about that, Mr. Lee, is that I understand because I was reading, like that was one of those times where it's like I'm not even gonna say anything. I'm gonna watch what response people have to this.
Right.
This guy, you cannot set a precedent like that. That's why I like what you said. Maybe about an hour ago, you were saying this. Look at this from a developmental standpoint on how much money he's supposed to spend just to be able to do for his kid. Who's going to sustain that and set a precedent in that way? That's why this is one of those reasons why I say people in our community, especially, unfortunately, you don't have any foresight. You got to have that much foresight when you going around procreating with women. I got to have that much foresight to say she got how many kids? You see what I'm saying? No way.
The math on that McDonald's per month for all the kids, that's insane.
I mean,
if you do it every day, you're broke.
That video,
but that's not. But you see, that's not just McDonald's. That's McDonald's. That's back to school. That's summer school or summer camp. Everybody wants summer wear. Got a nice little hats and glasses, t-shirts, shorts, new sneakers for the summer.
And black people, they gotta have big Jordans now.
Yeah, and we know we can make a few assumptions because we saw the car he was driving, and she also said he has other kids. That's why I said it's out of the question. If he's on the average man's salary, if he has other kids and trying to do for this one, she already confirmed he comes over every other day. So it's like, okay, he's doing on a consistent basis for the children that he has. And you expect him to take care of your children too. But I was listening to the actual details of what that woman was saying, and it still didn't add up.
But
she did say every day.
Yeah, but a guy like that, it's hard to feel sorry for because he's still going over and knocking her down. That's the bad thing about it.
Right.
I can never defend that part because I damn sure wouldn't do it.
He made his bed, he got to lay in it.
And let me tell you I'm gonna tell you what he probably did later on. He sent her sorry ass a text, baby, I'm sorry. You're right. I should have bought them kids awesome meal. I'm in the house now. I'm on my way to bring it over. I'm sure that.
So here's my rebuttal to that. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. All right. Here's my rebuttal to that. Men, and this is coming from a responsible man who takes care of his kids, right? If we all read books, we know history. When in history have men ever practiced sexual discipline? Never. The answer is never. The difference is that women never gave access to their bodies unless a man had certain stuff. That's the difference. Now, men have never in history practiced sexual discipline. The difference is that a man used to be standing in your way because that was her father. And he said, to get access to my daughter, you have to have
and
this,
the community.
And
the community because,
so now,
we weren't just spread out like that. We were in communities, families growing within communities.
Absolutely.
So there was more support.
I never want to have a discussion of sexual discipline for men. It's never been a thing. We are animals by nature. You can look in the wild and see what you are biologically as a man in society.
Trigger, you're right. If we have access to it, we will take it.
Period.
At that point, you're right.
Make shame great again.
Make it
but
great.
The thing is, the standards of women have fallen significantly from what they used to be because the infrastructure of a community have fallen as well. The society now really become something that is run by the government. Absolutely. Whereas prior to, societies used to be run by the community where people live. It wasn't run by governments.
And
Danny Holiday.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sage Talk. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. What's your contribution to this discussion?
Well, he was just saying that there was no sexual discipline, but I beg to differ because there was a time where sex was marriage, which meant if you penetrate the woman, that's your wife. So you
Right.
had to make sure when you touched down that you were planning on owning up to your responsibility. So the discipline was you had to make sure when you did it, you were ready for the responsibility. And I
But
think the
most, but
way,
I would let me interject. I would add this. That really came from the parents,
Yeah, I was
both
gonna
of
say
the
right,
woman
we don't disagree.
and from the
right,
father of
right,
that male.
The community
yeah,
was standing in your way. That's what we're saying.
right. But you learn that though.
What do you mean?
Right. You learned that growing up because it was
Yeah, you learn
examples
that
all around
understanding.
you.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was
actually,
the part of
you also maybe didn't learn it. You remember the shotgun wedding? We talk about it all the time. That man went and hemmed you up and said, "You're not gonna." So here's the thing. Because I'm Nigerian, right? You do that to a Nigerian girl. The father
yes,
is coming to you and said, "You made a problem for me. This girl still
and
lives in my house. Now, a
and that's
baby
the discipline.
is gonna be crying in my house. So
Because
I'm
what is
making you."
discipline?
Yeah,
Discipline
but
is
it's
an
still
ass
the
whooping.
community. We don't disagree, because it's the
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
standing in the way.
Right. And also, like when I saw that video about the cat bringing McDonald's for his son, so there's one thing that's being overlooked, and it's his relationship with the woman, and his relationship with the woman is affecting all the children that are involved. So, because if his kid was at his best friend's house, the kid at his best friend's house with his three other brothers, if his father was thinking about bringing him food, he would have brought food for all the kids, not just his. Because the parents would look at him like, you crazy, because I've been feeding your kid. And so I'm not saying that he's responsible for it, but there's a whole lot more that goes along with that other than how he feels about the mother. So me in that situation, if I can't afford to feed them all, I'm gonna pick up my child and take them with me and feed them.
But
She didn't
one,
let him do that.
hold on. Let me say this though. Even if those 4 children was somewhere else at another
Right.
family's house,
Hmm.
the only person that would see those children as all 4 brothers and sisters would be the mother's side of the family, not the father's side of the family. The
No,
father and the father's side of the family, unless that woman was his wife, maybe, but the
not
father side of
necessarily
the
though.
family is not going to see that one child that all those children belong to their family. They're not.
No, it's not to see that they belong to the family. I am saying that it's just etiquette. If I came to your house and I'm bringing food, I'm not gonna bring food just for me. And if I
No, but
can't bring food for everybody, I'm gonna eat before I get there.
no, but that's a different thing. So you're trying to equate 2 things that are not the same.
Yeah.
This is a man
How's that?
that is this is a man that is supporting his child.
No,
Today
I'm
is
not saying he's
let me
responsible for that. I'm not saying that's his responsibility.
no,
I
but
didn't. That's
then
not what I said.
the
I'm
etiquette that
saying,
you no, but
yeah.
the etiquette that you're trying to imply is the etiquette makes him like he's not a bad guy, makes him a good guy. That's how you're trying to use the etiquette. Like I'm either gonna eat out and don't bring food for one or eat in front of other people, or I'm gonna bring food for everyone. That's an etiquette standard, granted. But
Yes.
when you're charged with the care of your own child, where a mother has multiple children, you can't be providing for multiple children on a regular basis.
And that's what I said. I'm not suggesting that he has to do that, but I'm saying there's more that goes along with it. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with the understanding that the children are children and the adults are the adults. And his relationship with her is the reason why it ain't cool. Even the way she got at him about it. Her response was out of pocket because her capacity to explain herself is out the window. She everything she said was not what she was trying to portray to him.
Well, what she was trying to portray, if you heard the video from prior to his approach, she
Mhm.
said, everybody thinks he's such a good dad. I'm going to show him.
Right.
So her attempt was to make him look like he wasn't a good dad. Why? Because she's already spoken to him before. You can't be bringing food over just for your child. You got to bring
Right.
food for all these babies.
And that's what I'm saying. Their relationship, she's out of pocket. I ain't saying she out of pocket. She ain't out of pocket. she's out of pocket too, because she's creating
But
more.
he has zero responsibility to
No, he
bring
doesn't.
food for the other kids.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have any responsibility
Okay,
to bring them
so as
kids.
long as we agree there.
I'm not suggesting that he's responsible for that. I'm saying their relationship is affecting the children.
But here's the thing, though.
Go ahead, Meek.
She's the usual terrorist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could look at it, right? Because, and I guess this is why Hink said this. Now it's hitting me. What did old boy say in the video? If you had 1, 2, or 3, I would have bought for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's why she's a terrorist. Because look at how she tried to bully him the entire time.
Right.
Had she called the man on, and I believe based on this statement of, yo, if it was 2 or 3, I think had she called him and been like, look, I'm down bad, can you help me? I think he would have done it.
He would.
I agree.
And
I agree.
But
you just stated,
nah, nigga, you gonna do what I tell you to do or nothing, bro. And that's it.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Exactly what you're saying right now. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. That she made it back, because if he wanted to, he's not going to do it because of how she gets down.
Well, not only
you see what I'm saying? Even if he wanted to, based on how she's telling him, you better do this, you better not do. When he can, he's like, I'm not dealing with you with that madness.
But really, what she was doing, because this is an ongoing discussion between them. That was not a first-time event. That's an ongoing discussion. So now she want to put him on blast. But what she was really trying to do, she's trying to control him.
Yeah.
And what she's telling him is like, look, you're gonna pay for all these kids. There's no one time you're gonna show up here and you're not gonna have something for all these kids.
Right.
They're not all yours, but they all mine. And that today it's food, tomorrow it's sneakers.
Yup, that translates.
Then it's back to school outfits. Then it's Christmas. It goes on and on and on.
She's a
terrorist.
You
get my point then, right? So you get my point. My point is she is making it so a person wouldn't do it no matter what, even if he wanted to, because of her get down. She's making it bad.
Even if a man wanted to,
he gonna do it.
Financially,
you saying he gonna do it, huh?
Yeah.
No, even if he wanted to, financially, it doesn't make sense. Look at this argument. You spend $1,000. $750 goes to other children that are not yours. $250 go to kids to your child. You
and
spend $10,000.
He has other kids.
$7,500 go to children that are not yours. $2,500 go to. What man in his right mind could continue doing that and say, wait a minute, I'm putting my son or my daughter as a disadvantage. I can't make a way for them.
So guess what? I went through the same scenario. Right? I went through the same thing. And what I did was, when it was just one child, right? My daughter's older sister. When I bought shoes for my daughter, I had the money. I buy her older sister some shoes. When I bought toiletries and stuff for my daughter, and I had a little bag for her with her own soap, lotion, toothpaste, everything. I bought 2 bags. I bought one for her sister.
Would you do it for 4? We all get.
No, let me finish explaining. When I bought coats, I bought coats for both of them. But then when her mother started having more children, I rolled it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't disagree. I'm not saying that he is responsible for it. But even then, when I rolled it back, I would come over, pick up my daughter, take my daughter with me. We go hang out, do whatever. If I could afford it, when I was able to, I would pick up my daughter, her sister, the baby sister, and bring them and spend the night at my house, all of them.
But right? your woman was reasonable. This other woman is
she wasn't. I'm sorry, no, she wasn't.
If she allowed you to do that, she was more reasonable. If she allowed you to do that, she was more reasonable.
Hey, I didn't even tell you this. I didn't tell you about the bank robbery. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he didn't tell you the other side of the story. But what I would say is that a lot of times, and from your story and other brothers, what it's showing is that Black women wants to create community fathers.
Right. But she didn't do it because of me. I didn't do it because of her mother, though.
No, I'm not.
I did it because of my
your
upbringing.
situation.
For my upbringing.
I'm just, yeah. I'm just saying in general, though, what you see being revealed in this discussion is that many Black men have become community fathers.
Right.
Paying the freight of children that are not theirs just to be nice. You want to be a success in the world? Men that become billionaires are not nice people.
Yeah.
If you want your child to be a success, you can't be nice. You can't be going around giving another child food to eat that is going to grow up and compete against your child.
Yep.
But I feed the homeless. So.
But that's a, see, now you're trying to see that again.
Now you're moving the goalposts. Now you're moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying. I'm saying feeding somebody is not a big deal to me. I'm saying feeding somebody is not a big deal to me. Is what I'm saying.
And
but if you're on a budget, bro,
this is really
no. When I told you, I did say when she had more kids, I rolled it back. I stopped. I said that.
But what you're doing by saying that is that you're making other Black men feel guilty for not doing that.
Because I'm not doing
it. No, you don't have to.
Oh,
yes. That's not your responsibility.
Yes.
That's
exactly what you're doing. When you say things like, feeding people is something natural that comes natural to me. Feeding the homeless is what I do. That's making other Black men feel, because that's a Black woman would use that same statement that, you know what? You're not like your cousin. You're not like your uncle. You're not like your friend. You're not like so-and-so because this is what they do.
Yep.
And they will use you. They would use you as a template to browbeat another man into submission.
Well, they would be out of pocket. They would be out of pocket.
Mr. Holiday.
They would be out of pocket.
Mr. Holiday.
They would be out of pocket for that.
Right.
Mr. Holiday about to go viral as their spokesperson with that statement.
They don't care about being out of pocket. They just care about winning.
Right, but what I'm gonna say is this: if I'm privy to the conversation and somebody is trying to down the next man for not doing what I did, I check that individual myself. I'm not with that.
But the stuff you're saying, you're not supposed to be saying out loud. That's what I'm saying. Like all of that it's representative of the gynocracy. It's not representative of manhood in Blackness. Because listen, I once told a woman right before I moved to Texas, I was knocking her down. She had 2 kids. Okay, she's like. So where is this going? I said, absolutely nowhere. And she said, why? I said, I have never seen my life taking care of somebody else's kids. I told you that in the beginning, and you chose not to believe me. And she tried to make me out to be a bad guy, like the other guys that we went to high school with. So I said, I'm not only not a bad guy, I'm telling you how I envision my life. All right. And you can't make me feel bad. Now, what I see is that I know this is probably not your intent. But you come up here when you say stuff like, well, I'll take care of this kid and I'll take care of that kid. Women will use that against a man like me who openly says, I will not, because the way I envision my life was taking care of my own kids and my own responsibility.
I got a question for you, Holiday. Holiday, I got a question for you. So now you said, you know, you do with 0.1 or the percent or whatever is going to go ahead and do. Were you doing that to just keep it cool? Just to were you doing that just to keep it cool? Like I just want to just not have no issues. Was that the thing?
No.
Or was you still taking it down?
He was in
it. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
Come on, be honest.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. So let me tell you the truth. Right? When I started dating her mother, she had a daughter, right? And I was around her all the time, and I took care of her. She was around my family. Yeah. So, and let me. I gotta give you guys some more insight on the whole get out, because I lived in the same community. I went to elementary school with her mama. We lived in the same community in San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? So, where I hung out at, her daughter played. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a communal thing. On top of it, I hung out with my.
Oh yeah, you're a community dad. Yeah, you're a community dad.
No, let me. No. I'm saying when I. No. You don't hear what I'm saying? I'm saying when I was with her.
Right.
I was in that space. So no. This is what happened when I broke up with her. Right. I was still concerned about the child. Period. Because because the mama was out of pocket, and like I said, but look, I did what I could do until my child. I had to take care of my child. So I'm saying I did that, but at one point it was about my child, and I ended up, by the time my daughter turned 8, I had got custody of her. I had took her to court and got custody of my child.
Hey, Mr. Holiday, you still slide on the drought
That's
season.
different though. That's different right there. You were doing it. You were doing it.
I can't hear you. What you say? I'm trying to hear what he's saying, brother with the beard. I can't see your name because my screen is lit up.
You were still sliding through one of them drought seasons when you was hitting that.
No.
Happening. You gave her a call. Go on, admit it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I understand.
No. This is before, maybe before my daughter was born. Before my daughter was born. But I'm saying after the fact.
He did say when he met her, she had a child. So he was dealing with the woman and she had a child. That's granted. Right. But after you had a child with her also, right?
Yes.
And then at some point, the relationship broke off between you, right? But you still have to support your child.
I still supported my child, and what I'm saying is I did whenever I could do something for the other girl because I love that kid. Period. It's what it is.
You see, that's the psychology that we as men we want to break. 2020.
But no, because guess what though? I didn't do what I couldn't do.
We're not doing stepdad and we're not doing community dad.
Nope.
Yeah, 2020 is cold out here.
Stepdad is going to be a very selective thing when it happens in our community. It's not going to be the norm. But community dad is not going to be the norm because Black women are living in a society now where they're being irresponsible, having multiple children by multiple men, and then they want one man to feed all of them.
But you understand, right? You understand in my case, it was short-lived.
They're using your emotions. No, but they're using your emotion as a good person because remember, the guy that's going to pay is not the guy that don't give a shit about those kids. Correct. It's the guy that do care. That's the guy that's going to, and they're going to play on your heart, and they're going to have the baby sit on your lap, and they're going to bring her over and let you spend time with him or her to kind of keep you connected.
It's all calculated, bro. Trust.
That's all calculated, bro. It's all calculated. And it's designed because you know what? A man always have that emotion for a child. Yep. We come from the understanding of women and children first. So we understand protecting children.
Especially if it's a girl.
That's a code that men created. That's a code that men created.
And before I got custody of my daughter, another thing that go ahead, I'm listening to you.
Did she give you a tie for Father's Day?
Did she give me a what?
A tie for Father's Day.
Who, the kid or the mother?
No, the stepmama, the stepdaughter.
No.
Yeah, yes, she did.
No. Hey, but look. Hey, look.
Yo, but hold on.
Hey, let me say this though, right? On top of that, right? The fact that that was my daughter's older sister, right? I had to make sure that it was a house full of women. I had to make sure that my daughter wasn't getting the wrong understanding from her big sister. So I had to put words on both of them. Like, listen, this is what it is because, and this is me. And I'm being calculating. Like, I got to make sure her sister. That's why I bought 2 bags of hygiene stuff because I'm like, you got to follow. I want both of them doing the same thing because that's the big sister. And if the big sister ain't washing her ass, then I'm not in the house, and my daughter ain't washing her ass because I can't make sure she's doing it.
You didn't want the big sister negatively
influencing
Yo, nobody on this panel is shaming you to where you have to explain yourself.
No, but it's conversation.
We're just conversation. Get into the conversation.
It's just talk. Yeah, I'm not.
Let me say something, right?
No, he's a grown man. I don't think he feels shame.
No, I don't give a high flying. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn.
Don't worry about it. I'm just giving you.
Please believe I don't give a damn. Hey, guess what? What's your name, Hank? That's why I keep pausing so I can hear what you got to say because I know it's gonna be funny. I ain't mad.
Absolutely. Okay. Just Jay said, okay, Mr. Lee, is on that fuck them kids.
I know that's right.
Let me say this. I'm not about fuck them kids. What it is that we need to retrain our women.
No,
You know
I get it.
by that, though.
And behavior is one of the most difficult things to get people to break.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying for sure.
Generational. Let me finish. Generational bad behavior doesn't break easy. There have to be pain involved if you want to break a bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's predominant in our community. It's in other communities too, but to be honest, I don't give a shit about theirs. I care about my people first.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
I could be a good neighbor and help out my neighbor later, but I'm gonna make sure my house is right first.
I know that's right.
And you got.
And I understand what Mr. Holiday was saying, because he's also using preventative measures for the psychology of his own child.
Yeah.
So, but these are the things that we have to do as men to protect our children and the homes of women that we have children with, that have multiple children. And we have to use our money as a defense, as a shield, to make sure that there's not too much offensive action happen to our children.
Right.
So this thing is it's broader than just taking care of 3 other kids. There's a big dynamic that goes on to this whole situation. That was a good point that I think Mr. Holiday brought to this conversation. How he was using his finance strategically to keep certain things in place the way he wanted it to make sure the older sister of his child didn't abuse her.
And if he did all that, if the mom would have said, oh, to your daughter, if her mom would have said, oh, your dad is this and that, I think the sister would be like, but he buys me stuff too. Don't be bad mouthing his name kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that would have happened. I
was just talking to my mom like about an hour and a half ago about how my daughter's mother was trying, like she was jealous of my relationship with my daughter. So she would try to make my daughter not like me, and she would say all kind of stuff. So all she would do is make me tell my child the truth. Each time she told her a lie, I'd tell her the truth. And so it didn't work. So she flipped it around and tried to make a hoe out of my daughter. So I wouldn't like my daughter. Wow. Like at 6, 7 years old, putting her in coochie cutter jeans. And then and I already explained to my daughter, you can tell me anything if you disagree or whatever. As long as you're not disrespectful, you can say whatever you want to say. So it made her always tell me the truth, because if you tell the truth, you ain't in trouble.
Right.
So I'm at the house. I would stop by the house to check on my daughter after school and sit in the room with her and talk to her, right, all the time. So I come over, her mama's, she took them jeans out my closet, right? So when my daughter walked in the house, she got on these tight ass jeans at like 6, 7 years old. And I asked her, I said, why did you take them jeans when your mama told you? She gave them to me. That's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear, right? So she was doing all this stuff to try to turn me against my child. It didn't work. Once I got custody of her, I was cool. I didn't have to do nothing extra once I got custody of her.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Check this out. Let me get some feedback on this statement. Gerald D said, some of the most successful people I know are step-parents. Give me some feedback on that statement.
He must be talking about his 1 mile radius, because when you really look around, that's not how that works.
Not, so I gotta really go in on that one.
No, but I want to deal with not whether or not it's a fact from his environment, but what is the psychology behind that statement? That's what
I'll say this real quick. Being a stepfather it's not a metric to measure that you are successful or that you will be successful. Yeah. The reason why some successful men are stepfathers is because their resources allow it. That's what I think.
So this is really speaking to the thing. Like, we have this saying, I mean, you hear it all the time from immigrants in general, Nigerians, Asians. This is what we call American shit. When you hear stuff like this is what people will be like, they'll just look at each other and be like, that's some American shit right there. All right, saying something like that, like Mr. Lee said, that's a psychological programming, social programming of you thinking you're doing something by aspiring to be a step parent. I'm saying you should aspire not to be one. You deserve to not be, unless you yourself have kids and you're willing to work with it. You should be trying to start off with a clean slate. In the Black community, especially, men need to be that selfish. And I'm gonna go back to something Mr. Lee said maybe 2 Sundays ago. He said women don't create their own power. So when you look at how this psychology came about, it's men providing them the space to have this type of power. You're trying to be loyal to some ideal that does not work. It's a part of a gynocratic society. Men in power that handle their business, that do what they're supposed to do, they want everything their own. They're territorial, just like other male animals, other male alpha, apex predators. Everything is their own, in their own box. They kill their own prey, they eat their own prey.
It's funny that you say that, right? Because if this was in the animal kingdom, in the lion's kingdom,
they'd have killed the kids.
Those 3 kids wouldn't even exist.
Oh yeah, done.
They were done.
You think? Can you imagine a lion risk his life every day he tries to take down a prey? Every day, and then he's going to be feeding 3 whelps from another lion?
No, because guess what? In the same system that the actual lions do, ancient Africa used the same system. When you penetrate that woman, that's your wife, and all of her offspring are yours. Automatically, you know that.
So and that's a patriarchal system. That's a patriarchal system. A matriarchal system is the opposite.
So, but look,
and that's what we have in the Black community today. We have a matriarchy in the Black community.
So in ancient Africa, right, when the men would go off to war and die in battle, that widow would marry another man, and he would take on that family in the village. And there was a woman who came up with that whole idea of what do you call it, polygamy? I'm here. It was based on what do they call it when a man has multiple wives?
That's polygamy.
So that's what I'm saying. So when it started because the men who go off to battle would leave widows with children.
But that's not polygamy. That's not polygamy, because you're still only having one wife. You're only having one wife at a time. But that
no. You're missing my point. What I'm saying that he already has a wife, but he is allowed to take on another wife when she becomes a widow.
And that was in some societies. In some societies, widows stayed by themselves, and they were cared for by the community of men and the women. Not in every society, men took over the wife of a widow. No,
I wouldn't say every. I can't say every society, but I'm saying it existed though.
Right, of course it existed. Yeah, it existed.
But that was a different time when women were a different species. The 2022 woman, I'm sorry, honey, but you got to be out there on your own. You are unruly. Okay, you want to be. Look, she got allegedly. She got no food in her house, and she's still trying to bully old boy.
Right. She ought to be trying to be nice.
And that's part of the psychology, to always come from a position of power. That's how women roll. And we as men, we have capitulated to that ideology so much. That's why that comment by Gerald D. was so powerful. That many successful men are stepdads. That's part of that psychology, to program successful Black men to come back to the community, step up, right? Mm-hmm. Stepping up means you're becoming a better man than you are. That's the psychology of stepping up. You are better than the guy who can't step up. The psychology goes deep.
But that's major bull, because the man, here's why men you don't want to try to become a stepdad now. Is because of how unruly that Meek said, on how unruly the 2022 women are. That's going to be hell and torture for a dude trying to be a stepdad?
Well, and let's just say on the low end, depending on how old the child is, that's an automatic $45,000 deduction, automatically, just to raise that child, automatically. So it's not like it's a leg up; it's a leg down. But to your character, right? For you to be a good man, you have to do these things. That doesn't even make sense.
No. But I see that as a person just being who they are, not a step up. You represent, you come and you be whoever you are, and the one who does it, that's who he is.
No, but the
that's
psychology
his get
is
out.
that
Yeah,
you are more of a man if you do it. That's the psychology.
You're more valuable.
I'm just calling BS on it. That's all I'm saying. I'm calling BS.
You're a good guy if you do this kind of
This
thing.
is
made this
where
comment.
That's
this
BS.
is where we're kind of stupid as men. This is where we're kind of
Israelites
stupid.
did that. I guess that's. I think there's a misunderstanding with what Israelites did on this comment. If the woman had no child, then an Israelite man would take her to bring forth a seed for the dead man. First, the first son would be his child, the dead man's child. But if she had children, no, she wasn't taken like that. If she already had children, she was not taken. Because in Israel, everything was by inheritance. So once there was a child, there was an heir to the land and the wealth of the father.
Right.
Just to drop that.
And also, Israel.
Go ahead, Luke.
Go ahead. I was going to say, first of all, the Israelites, they had a very strong moral compass, right? The women were not the same, and also the men were not the same. And they were under different rules, regulations, and a different time period as well. So
it was different 100 years ago. 100 years ago, it was different.
And also, did we not read what happened when Ishmael was born? Get out. Get cast out, right? I want my first son, the son that God promised, and I made the mistake to make a child with another woman. You're cast out. And hence the war that is still going on today.
But I would add something to that. It was actually Sarah that went to Abraham.
Yes.
Because in her mind, she had a husband that was wealthy and she hadn't bear him a son yet. So the law in Israel is that the firstborn servant in your house becomes your heir if you have no heir. So that was the reason why she even told him to go to her handmaid to make a wife out of her and have a child with her. So that showed that the woman back then was on a much higher level, understanding the preeminence of legacy within a man to pass it down. Women today, they don't care about that. They care about themselves getting paid.
And notice how he didn't do that. He didn't do that, Mr. Lee, until she allowed it. That's important too. That goes to show her worth as a woman.
Absolutely.
Mr. Lee, as a father of a son, I wouldn't raise my son to be a stepfather at all. I wouldn't. There's just no damn way. And I tell him, don't you deal with no woman with a kid. Now, if he has a child already and she has a child, that's different. Because now you accepting her child, she's gonna have to accept your child. That's a different situation. But if I ain't got no kids, there's no way I deal with a married woman with kids. There's no way. I wouldn't make that investment.
And let's put that into perspective, because we got to look at it from, this is like where men are stupid, because out of the genders, women are the ones that are inherently selfish. All right. And they rarely do things that are of no benefit to them. That means that men are providing the benefit. We're letting them take advantage of us and our kindness and ability to do community things under our own power. They don't have their own power. So it's like, who's giving them this power to lord over us? It's us. Like, how are you going to make me feel bad because I don't want to take care of a child that's not mine?
Let's look at this. Just with the Roe versus Wade reversal, and I've said that on many previous shows, that women have never taken power in anything that they have. Men has given it to them. And if men decided that they want to take it back, it can be taken overnight, just like that. Exactly. They don't really realize that not only is this a man's world, men can manipulate the environment. Women don't have the physical strength to manipulate the environment. We can do that. That's why they could never really run a society without men. And I think there's so many men today that are feminine minded that they try to equate men and women as equal in that sense, and it's really not so.
And
Look, I said at the beginning of the pandemic, and I said
sure, I need you on camera.
In 2020, I said they are putting the woman back in the home.
Yeah, sure, I need you on camera. Sorry, guys.
Okay, sorry about that, bro. Sorry.
Okay.
And if you
face of the camera.
And if you really take a lens out, the woman's starting to go back into the home because guess what? They've had their fun and they've really ran it amok, and it's starting to turn back. Just pay attention.
And
and black women are scratching and clawing because they like, no, I can't, but they the most out of control.
Yeah, but I think the pandemic for some, and you know how you have those households where they really are trying to and keep that in the family, and they know that they have a couple wild people. The pandemic, what it did was some of them people that were going out like that, they had to be stuck at home and forcefully see that stuff going on. And some of them are like, man, it's easier to be like this than going out there being wild. There's a small percentage that have adapted to it, but at the same time, a lot of them went the other way when they start giving away all that money and stuff for not doing nothing, and then they were like, we can go party. So you had a few that adapted to the being at home again. Now they're listening and they're seeing, okay, the slowing down is good, but then you have some other ones like free money go come with this sickness. We can still party up.
Well, we're feeling the effects of that free money now. I'm in the financial industry. Trust me, even though we're in the monetary system, no money is free because the system has to be balanced. No money is free. In Massachusetts, they are forcing people to give back unemployment because they gave too much. Pay me back.
Oof.
I'm in Mass. Pay me back, right? And the girls are going, oh, can I? Does anyone know a good lawyer? Because I can't pay back $10,000. Yeah, well.
But if that money was given to them by the federal government and they used it to give it as unemployment, I don't think they can really do that. Somebody gonna bring a lawsuit because
no, Mr. Lee. Here's what happened, right? The Massachusetts, something happened in the system where they were giving extra money out to these people for unemployment. They overpaid, and people didn't realize that they were overpaying. So when they asked for the money back, it's like, well, it was my money. No, it's not your money.
People realized they were just like, yo, it's free.
It's not free. It's not free.
The same way people are running them damn scams with the stimulus.
PPP, they paying for that.
PPP.
I braid hair.
Here's another statement. She says, Nurse Fancy says, you created this respectfully. Now, I'm not sure if she's referring to a question that I didn't, or a conversation that I missed, or if she was referring to what we were talking about with the rights that women have in society, and now they have run amok. Because I don't know, it was Meech that said they run amok.
Yeah, but remember earlier.
So basically, as you can see, it comes back to us.
Yeah, the redirectory.
We gave them those rights. It always come back to us. That's why in the end, we're gonna have to take power.
Let's take it away. We're gonna live like Saudi Arabia.
Because no matter what happens, it's our fault. We are responsible.
We're gonna go Saudi Arabia on these chicks. It's gonna be the Christian police. The Christian police is gonna be outside. If you're not dressed the way we want you to dress, if you don't do what we want you to do, that's it. You're gonna get whipped. It is what it is. How about that?
Oh God! They putting them back in the home.
Yeah.
Pay attention, everybody.
So that is
low key.
That's actually true. That's true.
It is true. I know it's true.
I will say this: if we have a real financial collapse, that's where you're going to see some problems, because it's going to have a ripple effect. It's going to affect transportation. It's going to check the food chain supply, and we're already seeing different things one by one being affected in the United States. But if we have a real financial collapse, it's going to just be everything happening at the same time. And I think that is where it's going to break the camel's back with everything that's been given by men in this society to make women believe that they're equal to men when we know they're not.
Look
hey,
on the
Yeshua,
internet.
welcome to Sage Talk. How are you, sir? What's your point, or what can you add to this discussion? The making of a deadbeat dad, and it always begins with a baby mama.
Well, this is my thing. Well, first of all, as far as I'm concerned, my life, I'm single with no children. So I, in a sense, have been, I guess I've been protected to a point where I see dudes go through these certain things and go through certain, child support, etc., and those type of things. That is making of a deadbeat dad comes from the fact that women are, quote, promiscuous. That's the problem. Men and women are promiscuous. I say women are that because she can always say no to him. But the problem is that she don't say no. If she lays with him, and neither one of them has the intentions on having a good relationship or tying a knot. So that's the problem of the making of a deadbeat dad. That's part of how I see it. Now, somebody might see it differently. I think it all goes back from the beginning of that. Women need to tell these dudes, before you lay with me, or we getting married, yes or no. If you're not going to get married to me, I can't do that. Because it's too an example.
Let's be realistic. In today's environment and the way things have been led to run for the past 50 plus years, sex have not been for the purpose of marriage or procreation. Sex has been broadly for pleasure and the pleasure of women wanting to behave similar to men, to have sex with multiple partners without consequences, let's say.
Right. Well, just the point that I don't necessarily agree with that per se, that it's been made just for pleasure. I think we've made it that. I don't think that's the intent of sexuality. But
women did make it that.
No, huh?
Women did make it that back in the 60s and 70s.
Well, just the thing is this. There was a time in Black America, particularly when talking about Black folks, when you could not, during the 40s and 50s, you could not knock on Sheena's door and say, Mr. Charlie, is your door there? But Mr. Charlie be like, excuse me, sir, is there a problem? Knock on my damn door about my daughter. You couldn't do that. You know why? Because daddy would got in your ass for knocking on the door asking for his daughter. The only way, my grandmom told me, she said, men and women met up as teenagers at that time, if in fact they met in church or they was introduced from a family member to another family member. You just didn't go knock on somebody's door looking for Sheena. That didn't work.
So what you're saying is put the father back in the home.
Yes, put the father back in the home. Yes, put him back in the home. But the problem is this, that we have women. Sisters are so goddamn rebellious and independent, they're not going to allow the man to lead. This day of leadership shit, that's a fantasy. The days of Malcolm and Martin, leaders and all that, that's gone. Those days are gone. Okay?
No.
Black men who have children and families, their only obligation is to their children and their families, not to the Black community anymore. Those days are going and over. Okay? Black women are too independent, they have bought into white supremacy, hook, sin, and under. They gone. They bought into white supremacy. They love white supremacy. So we're not getting her back.
So let me ask you, what's your suggestion?
Yo, they do love it though.
What's your suggestion for Black men?
Black men have to do two things. Our daughters that's coming up in this new generations, be close with them. Our daughters, then as Black men who are single and don't have children, those Black men need to figure other alternatives besides the Black woman, meaning that there are other Black women in the world besides the Black women of America. That's what needs to happen.
Oh, that's a triggering term right there.
Man, some titty pink, baby.
Well, they're saying
girls divest.
They're saying that
snow bunnies.
That the
No,
16,
I didn't say no,
17.
Bunny. No, 1 second, bro. I said there are other black women in the world besides the black women of America. That's what I said. So there are black women in Jamaica. There are black women in the Caribbean. There are black women in Europe. There are black women in South America. Those black
We
women
trying to get us some citizenship women.
Yeah, Brazil's like this with black women, like this.
So what I'm saying, as us, we have to in fact have different ways and alternatives, because the sisters here are going in that sense. But like I said, what we can do is get to our daughters while they're young and be impressionable with our daughters while they're young, and that way their daughters will grow up choosing. Hopefully, that they would choose better black males in that perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Yusuf, is that
you,
your name?
You speaking real stuff right now.
Yes, you
This
are.
is the realest thing you said. This is the
I'm sorry.
thing.
But
This,
the thing about
go
it, you're gonna have to get custody of them girls. You can't just sit there and go have visitation, see her every other week, and think you're gonna have this type of a great influence on that child. You have to get custody of your child in order for that to happen, because she still got to go home to that raggedy ass bitch of a mama, and she gonna continue to put her indoctrination on that child. You have to get custody of this girl. That's the only way it's gonna work.
And you know what, brother? And that's something that we have to, those brothers who have children have to fight. And the stereotype is that black men don't fight for their children. That's a damn lie. Black men fight all the time for their children in the court.
True.
Yeah, but the problem, back in 2000, I think it was 9 or 12, brothers went down to the courthouse in Los Angeles and said, as single black fathers, we want custody of our children. But that was a big protest in Los Angeles, but they kept it out the media. Those black men said, look, I got money, I can take care of my child. Why won't the courts allow me to have my son or my daughter, particularly young black males, young black boys? The issue is that those black men were saying, give me my young black child, my young black boy, and let me raise my young black boy to be a better man. Because she can't do that. She might think she can do that, but she can't do that. She can't do it. She'll raise no damn male. So I'm saying that's what needs to happen. That we need to fight hard.
Gives her the let me tell you what gives her the power to think that she can do that is the ass dude that's afraid to go and do what he got to do. He gave her all the power to act like that. I mean, that's where they get it from. They get it from the dudes that we don't want to represent us, and then that's how they do it. That's what gives them the right. And as long as we got dudes like that, they got ammunition. They got ammunition.
Well, again, those brothers like that, man, you know, those cats like that are kind of like, truthfully, those brothers are far in between. There's not a lot of black men that are like that. That's another stereotype to make you think that black men don't fight for their children or they don't let this. No, those brothers are far in between. But the media will make you think that there are more of those type of brothers, but it's not.
No, it's the court system.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys are getting taken to the cleaners, you know, that's trying to fight to get their kids.
What did Sage say?
Someone's got YouTube open, close YouTube on the other window, the other browser. But I want to talk about this for a second. Rashid Muhammad, he says, this angle is making me uncomfortable.
Oh gosh.
Just men talking, making them uncomfortable.
The religious police is making you uncomfortable.
No, not so much the religious belief. But
I said the religious police that we need.
Oh, right, the religious police. More so where the conversation went in terms of having more options to choose.
But it's not the angle, it's the reality. There's a whole spectrum involved. It's a whole circle. We got to talk about everything if we're going to talk about it. We can't just leave stuff hidden in the shadows. You know, the uncomfortable is what you're supposed to be listening to.
Right.
But you see, there are men in our community that are, how can I say, that are drones for women. They go out and police other men to try to restrict you. See, when the guilt trip or the shaming doesn't work, that's when these guys come out and throw out these. Yeah, they come out here and they throw these. They make these statements to make you as a man feel some kind of way uncomfortable that, yo, you shouldn't even be talking about this, bro. What's the matter with you?
Hey, but check this out, Mr. Lee. Check this out, Mr. Lee.
Right here.
No, what I was gonna say, man, when brothers are policing other brothers, or what they doing, or they are in fact abroad, they're writing and they're doing other things, and they're traveling and doing all these kind of things. That to me is some gay stuff. I would never police another man on what he does. That's not my issue.
Watch out, bro. Watch out.
Well, I wouldn't say,
Don't say
it's
that no
gay.
more.
What I would say, it
Act
might
like
be
you're in
female
Florida.
behavior or feminine behavior,
You're a
right?
booty chaser.
We don't want to use the same female talking points to try to coerce another man because his actions are different. If we want to correct a brother, we need to try to correct him without trying to shame him at the same time.
Right.
Right.
We heard
And
that.
that's what
We heard that phrase being used towards Kevin Samuels for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. And we know it wasn't true. So we as men, we can't now turn around and throw that at other men. We need to find other terms to be able to identify them, to reflect on who they are, and point them out without using, the LGBT alphabet soup of words to shame brothers as well.
Yeah, but
what I meant is what I'm saying that
yes,
I'm in fact,
sure.
I'm not worried about another man because he's not hurting me. Okay, he's not hurt. The point is that you got selfish women who are selfish. They want you to be miserable like they are miserable. That's part of the problem. That's really the problem. You see, so that's how I tend to look at that. There was a sister that came on the Phil Levi show. Y'all might watch Phil sometime, whatever. But Phil had a sister come on, and she talked about child support. And her issue was that the courts try to make her force her ex-husband that's married. He remarried, and she got remarried. The courts still try to force her to make her ex-husband pay child support. This sister who I applaud, she said no. He said he's married, and the money that he's already given me is already for his child. He's not that.
Yeshua, that's a big part of it, man. It's the laws, the way they're set up, kind of support this bad behavior.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, but
I'll tell you guys something.
One second. I'm saying that the sister rejected the court, which I thought was good that she did that because she said, "No, that man is married now. He got no business to give me some extra money." She said, "That's crazy." She said, "He already paid me enough money for his son. That's it. I don't need nothing else from him. I'm married now too."
But most women aren't going to do that. Most women, first of all, the fact that he's married and he's in a marriage with another woman and he's happy, she's going to want to inflict some kind of pain. Even if she was the one to divorce him and don't want him anymore, she's going to try to inflict some kind of pain because she feels some kind of way that he's happy. So, and financially, if she could take more, she's going to take more just because she can. So this sister that actually had that conversation on Phil's show, she was really stepping up because she was pointing out how women in our community have been behaving also to other black men.
Right.
So, social media is really becoming is being used as an advocacy for black men and men in general, but for black men, just as much as we see the 304 behaviors of women, we're also now being able to catalog all the information.
I'm gonna give you a story right here. I'm gonna give you a story right here. I know someone, and because of he's the good dude in this situation, right? So he goes and does all the stuff, and his kids get he shoes and all the other stuff. Here's what the revenge was on this to him. Since you think you so good, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to stop this. Goes to his job to where he is and acts up, and he loses his job that he worked so hard for to get that position and took it away when he's making that good money. But because he's the good dude and his son is getting the stuff, go up there and make him lose what he got to give to the son, and she don't know that backfire. That comes back on you like, what the hell's wrong with you? Now you stop it.
But you know where that comes from? That comes back to envy and jealousy. She realized that she made a mistake. She let go of a good man. So now she don't want nobody else to get a good man if they get with him in the future. So she's gonna sabotage him and sabotage his finance. Hurt him career-wise put him back a step. Every time he tried to make one step forward, she put him 2 steps back.
Then
And
when a
that's
dude
another
leaves
way.
the country,
That's another way to call you a deadbeat dad.
Yeah.
Because then when he gets a lower income job, his child support is still at the higher payment. So then he tends to fall behind until he can regroup himself. And these are all part of the setups and the things that black women do to actually create deadbeat dads. And then they come out and call you out. Oh, you're a deadbeat dad. You don't do nothing for your kids.
I know a dude.
Hey,
I know a dude that just simply left the country. He went to Brazil, outstayed his time there, and lost his citizenship. Couldn't care less. He was gone. He was like, "Listen,
Hey,
I can't win."
I wanna share some information for cats who, I don't know what it is in other states, but in California, if you are on child support in California and you got injured on a job or for some whatever reason you can't work and you're on any kind of disability or whatever, there's a program that they never tell you about. And this is how I got cleared on my child support, because I had a homeboy who worked for child support, and I called him about it because I'm a musician, I'm a singer, and I was about to go to Europe for 30 something days to perform, right, on a whole tour, like, and they wouldn't let me go because if you owe over 2,300, 2,400, you can't get your passport.
Right.
So I called my homeboy and he told me about this thing called compromise arrears. Write that down if you got any friends who live in California. If they're on disability or for some reason they can't work, whatever, you use compromise arrears. And what they'll do is if you owe like 40, 50,000, they'll only make you pay a portion of that. I think mine was 40,000. I paid 800.
Wow.
And they wiped it all out.
Wow.
And I went to Europe.
That's the same thing they do for your driver's license, man. If they took your license away and you owed a certain amount of money after, I think it's like 28 months or something, you call the DMV, you pay $125 and you get your license back like it was brand new and you ain't got to pay that money. Like they
Yo, this is all a hustle, bro. You know
the compromise
why?
arrears, they keep it a secret though. I was like, why did I never heard of that?
Because they don't want you to know, because that way most people are going to pay it. The few that find out, those are the very few that ain't going to pay it.
It's the same thing with the banks. They'll promote credit cards, but not unsecured personal lines of credit, which have usually half of the interest rate.
Right, lower interest rate. Absolutely. Okay, well, we're at the 4-hour mark, getting ready to go into 5 hours. This was a great show, guys. Let's wind it down. Mr. Holiday, we'll start closing out with you, and we'll go across the bottom right to left. Yeshua, and then Hot Facts, Trigger Mike, Meek, Pink, Lou, and then G11. So, Mr. Holiday, why don't you go ahead and give us your closing comments?
My closing comments is our society itself is sinking strictly because our women and some men, but I've noticed mostly a lot of women don't want to take a look at themselves. They spend most of their time looking at everyone else and trying to correct everybody else. And any individual who's willing to see themselves, and you don't have to share with anybody else what you found wrong with yourself. You can have that conversation. That's a self-talk thing. And that is the thing that's going to save our society. When an individual is willing to take the moment to see themselves and make corrections within themselves and stop the pointing outward. And that's what I've been seeing with a lot of women that I've dealt with in my life. Always you this, you that, you this, you that. But I'm like, when you gonna take a moment to see yourself and your imperfections? I'm dealing with mine. Are you dealing with yours? You know, with that, I'm complete.
All right, my brother. Yeshua.
All right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, in the way I look at it, man, that we the family is very important. You know, the black family, one thing they did, they made sure they broke down the black family. And I always say to myself, and I tell black women there, I said, if I have to explain to you about white supremacy, if I got to explain to you what is white supremacy, if I got to explain to you how they destroyed the black family, and you're going to argue with another black man about that, then I don't need you. I mean, I might as well go marry a white woman and get the same response. So as a black woman who's supposed to be the mother of the black nation, you should know these things, and we should be having none of these problems that we're talking about. We should be having them, but we have them because all women done join white supremacy. They love it, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, boy. Boy, you got fire. Let me tell you, when you get going, you get going. I enjoy every bit of that.
Absolutely.
But
one quick point. Hot facts. Drop your link in the back chat so I can have it. You say you have a show coming up on Tuesday, right?
Yes, Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. people, Pacific Standard Time. I am in California. We're gonna go over the qualifications of a good dude. What makes a good dude. We're gonna bring up what society says, and then we'll bring up what the women say, and then it'll come back to us to really say what makes a good man. So it'll kind of be a piggyback off of this, but I didn't know this was coming up. So that video that we all seen has, sparked a lot to get some things going. But Hot Facts with Robert Reese, people, just go ahead and type that in your search engine, and it's right there.
Appreciate it.
My closing remarks or thoughts is just this. Men, we got to do it like this. This needs to be the time where we don't put no more control over to the other side. You have the decision. They have the decision to spread them. You got the ultimate decision, to land the plane. All right. So don't go landing planes. Be smart. The smarter you are for yourself is going to be better. We're dealing with a whole new age. We don't even know what these women are called. They haven't even titled them yet. We don't know what it's called. Listen to the positive uncles. Listen to the preachers. Listen to the dude that no one listens to when you go to the bus stop, but he got knowledge. Listen to him. Listen to people. Listen to all of us, okay? Don't put the power over there. Keep it with you so you don't put yourself into that situation. Now that dude is blowing up all over YouTube. His face is blurred, but he's blowing up for all the wrong reasons. People go recognize his voice. They go recognize his voice though. But just keep the control on your side. Don't let it go aside.
All right. Let me just interject before you start, Trigger Mike. Amira is coming up tonight at 9 o'clock. So I definitely want you guys, after this show here, and you take a little break, to jump on Amira and give her your support as well. Trigger Mike, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Usually I just talk to the men, and coming from this particular topic, like healing hurts first. So you can't be afraid of the pain that will ensue from your changed actions, right? So men need to choose wisely and don't feel bad for making a woman stand in the shame for her own actions, right? We got a lot of men doing that. You don't want to provide pain. You don't want to be that dude. You have to be. All right. Black men have a vested interest in the behavior and outcomes of Black women. All right. So understand that. Everything, if we're going to really change this thing, you got to understand that you are the thermostat on the wall. Whatever we decide, if it's hot or cold, we decide if the direction the community is ultimately going to go in. And what I say for the women who practice undesirable behaviors that we as a group feel are undesirable, make them feel undesired for it. Don't ingratiate yourself with them just so they'll be amenable to your sexual desires, because we got too many men doing that. Make them feel undesired. It doesn't matter if a woman has a job, if she's a surgeon, or she works at Walmart. No woman wants to feel undesired. And if they feel like us as a group in mass, don't approve of what they're doing, they have no choice but to change, because we're moving anyway in one direction. And that's all I got.
Nice. Me.
I gotta agree with brother Yeshua down there. They are in love with white supremacy. They are rolling in the sheets of Thatty Democrat. Now, now, I think that we Well, I mean, it's already happening. There have been like, so they do certain studies and all of that. It's the studies are showing that like the 16 through 18, 20, they're completely rejecting these women and they're starting to go back to conservative ways. So we, like our age, we got to stand strong and listen. Those that are lost, ain't no saving them. They got to go. It's very simple. Listen, I'm telling black men, stand strong, understand you are man, understand that it is your goal, and it's your responsibility to truly man up, whatever that may look like. I don't want to say whatever that may look like, because there's really only one way to man up. So you have to man up. You got to take on the responsibility of providing for you and your family, and you got to make sure that that woman is not unruly. If she is an unruly, wayward woman, give her back to Zaddy Democrat. That is all I have to say.
Hey, I'm not going to elongate it. I'm going to get straight to the point. Black men, protect yourself at all times. I don't give a damn. Protect yourself at all times.
What?
I think it's your go, Lou.
Okay. Something a little bit different from me. I would urge men to stop thinking on a local scale and start thinking on a global scale, right? I mean, you guys have American passports, I would assume all of you. I do not. So if you get the chance to travel to other countries, learn different things, establish networks with other people from different places, because the way that I see things going in America, unless there's a very dramatic force to oppose these women, they will never change, and it will just continue going downhill. So take it from me, there are other countries out there where you can go to, establish a network and blow off steam maybe if you need to. So, don't be so stuck on the noise here in the United States, especially if you have an American passport. It just doesn't make any sense. That's it for me.
Thank you.
All
G11.
right. Yes, sir. I'm pretty much with Hank. Gentlemen, protect your seed. Don't go crashing up every club. You know what I'm saying? Be selective. Have some standards. Standards are okay. It doesn't, it's not a bad thing. It's not evil. And, I think we really do got to bring back consequences, good and bad. That's how you change behavior. So, and the biggest thing for me is I think we do need to work on controlling our sexual urges a bit more, because sex is a big part in society. It's influencing a lot of folks, and it's influencing our youth in a negative way. So that's all I got.
Well, definitely thank you, brothers, for coming up on the panel. It was an excellent discussion. Thank the ladies who participated in the chat and the guys as well. And all of you said some really good advice to brothers out there. Definitely traveling, having a broad life experience is very important. Traveling is one of the best ways to educate yourself about really how the world works. Having just the experience from the United States out of one country can be a bit myopic, because more and more we see the news as more subjective. We're being told what to see, what to think, and how to interpret what we see and we're told. But when you travel outside the United States, you get to see other cultures, other people. You even get to meet other white people from around the world, and even white people from the US who outside the US would treat you like a totally different person than maybe inside the US. So it broadens your point of view about the world, economics, people, women. And once you have a different perspective of how the world really functions, when you come back into the United States, it it opens you up to a whole different level of how you interrelate with people, both men and women. And it helped you to better filter through the women that potentially could be an obstacle to your success. Because no matter what, a woman at some point in her life is going to want to get with a man that can give her enough resources for her to get the things that she wants. Whether or not she can make that decision at 23, 24, 25, or at 45. She's going to make that decision at some point. The difference is, where are you going to be in that situation? Are you going to get yourself trapped up with some young chick that's going to have 3, 4 kids? Because, I mean, the brother that this whole video situation and this conversation, which have been going on for the past week plus now, you know, I'm sure some men said they can't feel sorry for him because he kind of knew what he was getting into. But it's given us an opportunity to really delve into the culture in which we live in. Some men who are weak to their nature, they can't make better choices. But other men who are seeking to have a better life, what you may call high value type men, whether they're there already or they're on their way or striving to achieve it, improving your economics so you can make better choices, also meaning making better choices daily in your life. And there are times when a woman may look good, but you might have to tell her no. You don't have to tell her no in a rude way, but you could find a way to tell a woman no and not get with her. Or do a background check on her. Before you're ready to hit it the first night, see what kind of woman you're dealing with. Have a conversation with her. Because one thing a woman can't do, she can't hide what's up here. She can't do that. You start talking to her, you're going to find out what kind of head she's dealing with. And once you know that, if you're going to make that risk to jump in bed with her and you don't protect yourself, then the outcome that you get is the outcome you get. You can't complain, right? So black men and black women, what I say is we want to build a better community. But we're not going to be able to do that as black men by ourselves. We want black men, black women with us. But one way or the other, we're going to do it. And if we have a limited amount of black women and foreign black women or foreign other women, the black men who want something better and who believe in family, who believe in community, and wants to build a strong black community, we're going to move that way. And many of us are moving in that direction now. So this conversation definitely shed some light on a lot of the behaviors that's going on in our community. Again, giving us an opportunity to be able to make better choices for tomorrow. And with that, I say thank you very much. Have a good Sunday, guys. Relax. Take a break for the next 45 minutes to an hour. And then tune into Amira. She's coming up at 9 p.m. Thank you very much for showing up. This is Sage Talk Lee. See you guys next Sunday.